All right, good evening, everyone. This is the April 18, 2022 Board of Commissioners meeting of the Merrimack Village District. Public participation for this meeting is offered by webinar. You can join the webinar by going to the mvdwater.org webpage and downloading the agenda for tonight's meeting. There's a link on there with the web Zoom link address. Or you can call 646-876-9923 and enter the webinar ID 856-4657-5714. As a courtesy, Merrimack TV is also recording this meeting and will be posted on their website at a later date. Reconvene the meeting. We did have a non-public session before this, so the meeting is already in progress. I'll reconvene this meeting at 5:08 p.m. We can all rise to salute the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, great. So we've got 4 commissioners here in person. We got also Ken Ayers is participating by Zoom. So I'll just do a roll call from Ken, as he's the one that's remote. Ken, can you tell us where you're calling from and anybody around you or anything like that?
Sure. Ken Ayers over at 19 Jakes Lane in Merrimack. Just the dogs.
Good. Sounds good. All right, great. So with that being said, we can go to the first item on the agenda, which is the Finance and Human Resources Review with Michelle Holton. We'll start with the analysis of revenue and expenditures report.
Okay. Being through March, the fiscal year is 75% complete, and we have our revenues coming in at 80% of budget, and our expenses are at 60% of budget, resulting in a net ordinary income of $893,000, which is $383,000 more than we were at the same point last year. All of our main revenue categories, except residential coming in at 72.6, are above the 75% of budget, and obviously driving the overall 80% of budget for total revenues.
Yep. Can I ask a question? That first page, the table is good. It's a good summary. I think that's helpful. I think that's a new one that you've done there.
Yes.
And there's a line that says account 60300, purchase of water, had all invoices since the Penachuk agreement reclassified below the line to 92055 capital reserve fund. Does that mean that the bills for buying water from Penachuk are not going to be expensed against the budget and they're going to come out of capital reserve funds? Is that what that means?
Correct. So if you look at the profit and loss budget versus actual, the last page is where that account is found. And that's after the net ordinary income, which is taking into account the budgeted items. So that's being paid, just currently being paid out of our operating account with the anticipation of reimbursement from capital reserves and possibly contingency if we decide to tap that as well, the 20,000.
All right. And how much was that total amount then? Just the purchase of water?
This is for the purchase of water. Since the agreement was made and through the billings we have are only through February 26th.
Right.
And we're at approximately $108,000.
Is that 92055? Is that the line
Yes.
item I just said? Okay.
This 92055 is not the 20,000 that are annually on the warrant, right? That's a different.
That would be, that's just saying that we have the ability to spend 20,000 from the unassigned fund balance and given that
Right.
appropriation for 1 year.
Right.
So this is just simply pulling it away from deducting an expense from the budget. So our intention was to use contingency and then capital reserve to pay for it.
Right, I'm talking about, we have a warrant article every year for basically
Emergency.
for the emergency, the 20,000 emergency fund.
And it is, it's,
That's not coming from the.
that would not, no, that would come out of the unassigned fund
No, it
balance.
would be
Right.
from,
Yeah.
the accumulated unassigned fund balance.
Okay,
So this capital reserve fund, is that the fund that we added another 100,000 in at the annual meeting? So we actually have 200,000 in there?
Yes.
We hadn't spent any of that yet?
Correct.
Okay. And we still have a budget for water purchase too. Was it like 25,000 or something?
Yes,
Thought it was in here somewhere. I'm just trying to find it.
we have 107 left on the.
60300, purchase of water. The budget was 20,000 and we were actually at almost 28,000. And that's prior to the agreement.
Mm,
So we just in general had purchased some additional
plus some-
water earlier in the year.
plus somewhere.
So out of that 20,000 budget, when you reassign the cost from Pennachuck, does that $20,000 become available again, or are we already spending that budget and just assigning what's left?
We had 20,000, we already had spent almost
28.
28
Yeah,
for the need for water earlier last summer. So we were already over, but we are already over the budget line item. And
right.
then everything else related to the agreement is in that below the line account, just. to
So the
track.
28,000 is still against
That's
the
part of
budget?
Yes.
All right. And so the 107 is on top of the 28,000?
Correct.
Well, no, it's a different account. That's the remainder of the capital reserve that we just tapped into when we reclassed.
No,
That amount.
that's actually the amount of expense for purchase of water.
Oh,
That's an
okay.
expense
So it's
line.
not the remaining?
No, we haven't done
Oh, yeah,
we
yeah.
haven't done the reimbursement yet.
Okay,
So we spent 28 with the budget plus another 108.
Right.
That we're going to request from capital reserves and put part against contingency.
All right, so,
And that's through February.
right, so that means out of the 200 in the reserve fund, we got another 93,000 available-ish.
92.
Yeah,
And on July 1st, we go into the new budget. Do we have a line item in that budget for purchase of water too?
Yes.
We do,
but
right?
I believe it's just,
The 20,000 again?
number 20.
I believe,
No, I thought we bumped it up a little bit.
I'm trying to see
I
how
can't think off
this,
the top of my head, but not too much, nothing to
Right.
cover the level that we're.
I'm trying to see how this hopefully will shake out
Mm,
once we get into the summer. We'll have a little bit more in the budget to assign future Pennachuck water bills to in the budget. And we have 93,000 left in this capital reserve fund. So theoretically, we have, what's that? $113,000 of water purchase availability before we're pulling from emergency funds or other things, right? That makes sense? The 93 that's
Yep.
left.
And plus another
20
20,
in the next budget,
and plus another 20 on top of it, because
emergency.
we have the contingency fund
Yeah.
for this year and we'll have it for next year. So
Okay.
that would put us at 132.
Okay. All right, I just wanted to kind of get a gauge on where we are with all that. Anybody else have any other questions on anything so far?
Yeah, right now it's going into the final quarter. This is where we just, closely monitor the revenues coming in, see that we're still on track. And any major expenditures, we kind of plan out through the rest of the year and prioritize. And then push off as necessary. Does anyone have any questions on any of the second report? We actually just went ahead and put the descriptions of,
Mhm.
mostly it's explaining those that are over budget. We also just made a few comments or indications of why something might
Mhm.
look a little different.
I thought that was
For some
helpful
reason.
because a lot of these we would have flagged and asked those questions.
Yes. We just finally,
Yeah.
we got there finally.
Right.
To be able to do this.
It's really helpful. It's also helpful if, you know, there's a short-term emergency or something and you would have to, you know, leave or something like that, you know, ditch the meeting, so we can move on. It's really, really helpful.
Yeah, I like that a lot. I think that's, if you can do that going forward,
No, we definitely will.
it would answer a lot of questions before they have to be asked, which is good.
Yes. Does anyone have any questions on any particular?
I don't have anything that I have flagged here. No.
So things are looking solid going into this final quarter. A couple of side notes related to finance. We have completed the implementation of our new billing system. And we actually have our customer, we have access to our customer web portal to do some testing. So we'll also be at one point rolling that out to all the staff who are Merrimack water users so that you can be the first to test out our new web portal. But that will be coming soon. And that was a major effort by all parties. And we're also upgrading Elements, which is our water system that ties in with UMS. So we're looking to get that scheduled at a meeting tomorrow.
So is that what's going to give the ability for customers to pay by credit cards or something like that? Is that the whole?
Yes, so also they can set up,
into-
recurring ACH
Yeah.
payments. That'll just be ongoing, or they can just have it set up each month and go in and decide to review the bill and just hit go to pay. We're also going to have the ability to have e-statements versus the mailing of the statements. We're going to have the ability to text, to do large texts out to folks, reminders. So we'll be working through all that in the coming months.
So if people want to sign up for electronic bills, then we're not going to have to mail them hard copies to those, or?
Correct.
And Amy's been working hard for like the last year and a half of collecting information from people and letting them know this is coming. So getting email addresses and phone numbers and stuff like that.
Oh,
too.
that's good to know. Yeah.
Oh, it's really awesome.
Yeah, so the different divisions that we'll work with for each thing, like one thing we've already done is when people do a bank check, they think that, or bill
Yeah.
pay, they think that it's like totally electronic. The bank actually mails us the check. We just get all these stacks of checks, and now they have a system that they can credit it, and we just get a file and we press a button and it just
And it
goes
has,
into CUSI, and then we're gonna be able to pull it into our QuickBooks financial
I
system.
think you
versus-
mentioned that there's been some late payments received from the bank when it actually, the customers think they're paying it on time, but they're just telling the bank, pay it, and
Yes.
then the bank pays it. You know, but
Yeah, and especially with the varying
post office is going
timeframe, with the post
very
office.
slow.
So it will be important if we email a bill that it definitely doesn't get hard copied, because then someone might pay it twice if different people in the household. are-
Yes, the system, once it's enabled, the system
Yeah.
knows that it would not be sending.
The employee
Same.
portal, another nice thing is even though it's third party, it will be branded as if it's us.
Hmm.
So, you know, whereas
Okay.
today it takes you to that other site, it will look like they've never left MVD, which
Huh.
I think will give them a little better sense of
Yeah.
paying.
And the fees smaller
Fees are
too.
much
Yes.
smaller.
Good.
I'd be interested to see how that affects our late fee collection. Because I mean, even when I was an MVD customer, I was on the commission and not one of my bills were paid on time, honestly. You get it every 3 months and it just goes in a stack. It's like $40, so you just forget about it.
Yeah.
So you get another one and say, hey, where's our money?
Someone may or may not have called me too.
I'm not gonna lie, I'm right there with you.
And also we're gonna be, we're underway with Underwood for an update to the rate study. So I'm waiting to hear what data they still need. They'll be working on that likely not getting it fully ready for the main meeting. So we will have some information to review. But they may actually even try to do a smaller version of the full rate study. Just get down to the core pieces we need to evaluate.
Yeah, you'll see the ESR next month at the meeting, keep City ready.
Okay, yeah, because I mean, there's like that big $3.3 million grant we got last month or two ago. Hopefully
Yep.
that can,
Plenty of new positive information
Yeah.
for them to factor in. Because we're keeping the prior grant and we got the additional grant.
Yeah.
And the rates are much less than what we built the rate study off of originally, so we can see how those numbers are all going to play out and make decisions.
that's good news.
Yes.
All right. Anything else?
Any other questions?
I don't have anything.
Okay. And just wanted to make sure, I know Kristen's gonna touch on the asset management program, but she really did step in during our transition and get acclimated with a whole new system,
I learned a whole
multiple
lot in the
systems.
last 6
But she really kept the ball rolling on the asset management program and getting GIS, up and going to where we want it to be. And now we have a lot more of us have a better understanding of how it works. And it's coming
Great.
together, so,
That's great to hear.
yes.
Good. All right. So if anybody else has any questions for Michelle? If not, then I think we can move on to the next session. You have anything more, Michelle, or is that
No, I am good.
everything?
I was just gonna-
I don't know if I was next, I just noticed up down here.
One more, we just gotta get, the election, then you're up.
Okay.
Right, so now being the first meeting after our annual meeting, this is where we customarily choose to elect chair, vice chair, and personnel liaison for the next fiscal year. So with that, entertain anyone make a motion to nominate somebody for the chair position.
Like to nominate the current chair. Chair.
Second.
Second, is there any other
There's a discussion,
nominations?
there's a discussion.
I know.
So brace yourself. No, Don called, actually, I think he did call at least me and asked, and I graciously said that it's good if he continues to do that as the water engineer between the two of us. So I just wanted to share that this is not a default. He did ask. And I'm not sure if he called anybody else, but I just wanted to share that he did ask me, and I said, oh, no.
Yeah. I don't know if you had aspirations to.
He didn't call me, but it saved me the trouble of hanging up on him.
I appreciate that. I think we're also supposed to ask if there's any other nominations for anyone else.
I think we need to vote on this one first.
Yes.
And then do the other roles.
Right,
I mean, for anybody.
for
else,
chair, yes,
Oh, I'm sorry.
because somebody else might want to nominate somebody else. So that's why I'm just asking that. I think that's how the process goes. But
Nothing for me.
You're one of the crickets.
and you don't have any other nominations for anyone else for the chair position?
No, sir.
All right, then seeing none, then I guess we'll vote unless there's any other discussion.
All good.
I am willing to accept. So all those in favor of myself as continuing chair signify by saying aye.
Right.
Aye.
Ken, how do you vote?
Aye.
All right, so that's 4-0-1 and I'll abstain. Not going to vote against, but I'll abstain. All right, so moving on, next position is the vice chair. And I don't know if anybody wants to make a motion for vice chair.
I actually nominate Ken as the vice chair. He's the second most senior commissioner after Don and I, and I think it would be a good idea for a change.
All right. Ken, are you willing to accept?
Yes, I'll accept.
All right, do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
second by Paul. Any other nominations or questions or anything? If not, we can take a vote. All right, you seeing none, then move to vote for Ken Ayers as vice chair of MVD. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. So that's Ken, what is your vote on that?
I'll abstain. That'd be silly voting for myself.
I hear you. Okay, so that's 401. Ken, congratulations on vice chair.
Thank you.
And that leaves us with personnel liaison. Do I hear a nomination for personnel liaison?
I would actually like to nominate Wolf if he's willing to accept.
Is Wolf willing to accept?
We can figure this out, right?
Yeah.
You know, you do know what you're getting into. You've been there before once, right?
I accept.
All right, do I hear a second from anyone on Wolf as being
I'll second Wolf.
personnel liaison? Second by John. All right, great. Any other nominations? If not, we can take the vote on this. So all those in favor of Wolf as personnel liaison signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Ken?
Aye.
All right, so that's 4.
0-1.
Are you abstaining? That's 401 with Wolf abstaining. So congratulations, personnel liaison.
Thank you.
Can be a fair amount of work in that position, probably more than in the vice chair, probably.
We'll make sure Ken has his.
All right.
You were slacking the last year in comparison to the first 3, so.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, with your attendance, yeah, so.
My attendance. I
You missed one meeting, yeah.
I'm not one emergency scheduled meeting. All right, anyway, that's another matter. All right, so we're gonna be, next item on the agenda is to get an update from Underwood Engineers for ongoing projects. Don't see them on the line at all.
Now Kristen's gonna be doing.
Margaret was supposed to join us. Unfortunately, she is unable to make it, so I was going to, instead of just leaving this whole spot blank,
Yeah,
kind of give you
Who's that?
guys a high level.
Who's not in attendance?
Margaret from Underwood,
Oh, okay.
Margaret Blank. So I was gonna do a high level overview of what the two of us have been working on. And then there's also a segment of this project called Level of Service that I think is in your packet.
yes.
That just kind of go over what the heck that's all about and get some feedback from you guys. If you approve some of the changes, if you don't, what you have suggestions for, and all of that. I've got,
That's a good start, because the first question I had is, what is this? Where is it from? Is it required or voluntary?
Skill mouse. Thank you.
Ooh, I don't know if we can go do that and have a mouse.
Over on one?
I think we're all ported out.
Yes, you are. No? Okay.
But I'll take the mouse. I'll use the mouse spot. You can sit right there. And use the,
We'll trade seats.
what you mess with.
Is that how we got
Thank
the
you.
wires?
What's that?
Is that how we got the wires? The USB stick?
All right. Don't know how to use this. I'm a mouse girl, so apologies. All right, so asset management project.
Can we share that document, please? With the Zoom meeting?
With this, how would I do that?
In the Zoom meeting.
Oh, I was, it was.
What's that?
Yeah, there's a share,
Share screen.
it's kind of in the middle there, isn't it?
Yep. I just figured anything on here would be,
You have to.
Yeah, click on that one. There you go.
Perfect.
Good call. I
Ken,
thought it
can
would
you
be.
see that?
Ken, can you guys see that?
You're on mute.
I can see it.
Okay,
Okay. Thanks, Amanda. All right, so Dave and thank you, Margaret, we're working on this, and what this entails is we're gonna grant from to basically organize your assets, to then kind of take them into GIS, to then create with both your horizontal and vertical assets throughout the whole system, and create a kind of a preventative maintenance plan for all the different one plan for hydrant, one for your main, one for your meters and so forth, using all the points within GIS.
GIS, can you please explain for those that may not know?
Sorry, global information system,
Something like that, yeah.
something like that. Basically, the GPS points from a satellite to a specific point on the ground of a asset of where it is within the globe, basically. And we have a listing of our assets, and now we're matching those to those points within GIS. And it's a lot of information because each of those points can be what the asset is, what our asset ID is, when it was purchased, what its vulnerability of how long it will last and so forth. So there's a lot of information per point. So that's what Margaret's been working on with Dave. I kind of jumped in at the tail end. Dave left, and me and Margaret have been working on making sure that these assets, as Merrimack, you all know, is growing tremendously, making sure that all of those new communities, those assets are also getting added into this, so that once this whole project is done, we're not 3 years behind with all these communities. The other part is to then, with those preventative maintenance plans, create a capital plan 5 years out, 10 years out, 20 years out. What do we need to start looking forward towards in replacing ahead of schedule versus break fix? And then also creating this level of service goals that are in line with this whole massive information that we've got that relates to us as an entity itself and our customers. That's a lot. So,
Can I jump in for that?
yeah.
So one of the things that when Dave was looking, talking with Margaret about,
Use it.
I kind of had a vision of kind of a dashboard, everything kind of be interlinked. And that's not that we have a CIP, it's not that we're gonna recreate the wheel, but it's gonna be in this format, so everything has to be, I don't know if it'll be talking to each other, but everything's gonna be in the same place, be able to put between and really look at, the treatment plants, what we did there, and like Kristen said, our water pipes, our service points, hydrants, that'll all be in there as well. So it's even be attached to the work order system.
Correct. One of the nice things with our work order system, which is Elements, which we're about to upgrade, is that with Elements talks to GIS, and as they do work orders, replace or whatever, those dates will then get transferred to and updated in GIS, which then changes all the calculations for your CIP and preventative maintenance. So so basically of the three systems, we have our billing system, which is customer information, meters, how much water they use. We have our Elements, which does work orders for all of our customers, but also our assets. And then we have GIS with all of our asset information. So Elements is kind of where all of the service information will be. We have our customer information, we have our asset information. So it's of the three is our whole industry basically within Merrimack.
Are you Underwood participating in that?
Underwood is the one who's actually taking all of this data and making sure that there's no duplicates. There's our IDs are unique, and filling out all the dates and times in terms of a hydrant has this many years of value and so forth. And along with a scale of, I'm trying to remember, which,
Consequence and probability,
yeah,
the risk.
the
priority
risk factors. So there's columns of, depending on what type of acid is, different risk factors on when it may break, when it may not, and so forth.
Where's the budget coming from that? It sounds like a sizable amount of work.
This was a grant.
Oh, you did say that. You did say, it says that. That's right.
So that's what Margaret was kind of, that's real high level that I couldn't explain what she's been up to. She, when she comes in our May meeting, hopefully, she will get into the nitty gritty of what she's truly doing. On the backside, me, Julie, who's one of our utility techs, and Brian, our treatment foreman, took on the side of the level of service because we were looking at it from three different aspects. And I thought that would be, one from the field, one from a management, and one from finance, and kind of merged it all together to say, hey, Ron, this is three ways we look at it. Let's merge it all into one. So what you guys have in your packet is what we came up with. And
I think you have to go to that window on the right.
oh, don't click-
No,
don't click it,
no.
Hold on.
They're up on top. See that green bar and the red bar? You have to lower it down. Yeah, there you go. And then stop share or new share in the middle.
There we go.
And then pick the other Word document. Where it's going. There you go. And share.
All right.
So this is what we kind of came up with. And I'm gonna just, hopefully, just gonna open this. Our current, and it will just be quick, but our current mission statement right now is providing water services all night, all day, every day.
How long has that been like that? Forever?
Since 2012, I believe.
It changed,
That's like the first time I remember that, but anyway.
I'm kind of catchy though.
So one of the things that they wanted you to kind of incorporate, and I know that with the three of us working on this, we're very confused between what's the difference between a mission statement and a vision. Because we have to come up with both. And what I had found that a mission statement defines the company's business objectives and its approach to reach its objective. Mission statement describes the desired future position of the company and basically how you are going to obtain that mission statement and move forward. So what we came up with for potential new statement is to provide the best quality, quantity, and cost-conscious water that meet or exceed standards from source to tap. With the vision being by maintaining the highest of standards in service, infrastructure, and maintenance of Merrimack's water delivery system. So a little more robust than what we had. And again, this is all kind of comments, suggestions, and so forth. There was also a matrix that they provided for basically your goals on how you're going to attain that mission statement and vision at a high level look, which would be a public view, and then a intercompany look. So of our high level asset prevention, preservation, and condition, maintaining accurate asset information, which is what Margaret's working on right now. Right now, most of our assets are in Excel spreadsheets everywhere. So now we're going to condense it all into one place, which will be awesome. Maintaining inspections of all the assets, maintaining our exercises for the different types of assets. Conservation, compliance, and enforcement, providing conservation material to our customers. We always hear about the water ban. Well, why is there a water ban? Getting it more out there on that is truly our conservation reasoning. Other ways that they could potentially help with conservation, maintaining the federal state regulations. They're ever changing as other states throughout the country discover things that we've discovered. Maintaining as they update someone on site or whoever to make sure that we are constantly keeping those regulations and standards for the drinking water. There's also health, safety, and security, providing the possible maintenance program for all of our treatment plants. They're all brand new right now. We need to come up with a maintenance plan before they actually need it. So things like that. Service, quality, cost. This is maintaining standards for ourselves when we confront customers, when we work with customers, dealing with employees within our company. The age-old present, happy employees equal happy customers. I come from the corporate world. That's a big thing. So maintaining low turnaround, training costs a lot of money. So, maintaining that they're less turnaround, again, that means our employees are more knowledgeable to then deal with customers. And then also maintaining our price level to the best without excess revenue, but also being able to keep a preventative look on our system instead of a break fix. Then the internal goals, measurable ways that we can internally see that we are, keeping all the goals above, updating our policies. I think our policies were last updated. There was one updated, I believe, in 2014. The whole thing, I think, is 2007.
Wow.
Keeping GIS, once we got all this information, not letting it just sit there, keeping it updated constantly. Merrimack's growing by leaps and bounds. Creating guidelines for inspections of our assets. Again, a preventative maintenance plan on each type of asset. Creating an MVD wants to know. This is more of a kind of more marketing campaign. Hey, what do you want to know about us? Again, reaching out there with conservation things for people, or reaching out with during the winter and make sure that your backyard faucets are on a little so that your pipes don't freeze. Like keeping in touch with the customers. Making sure our best practices with water, making other types of marketing campaigns, designating someone to follow all the water regulations, keep MVD records and how and when they change. Staying in constant contact with our IT provider. Cybersecurity is profound these days. And it is very well known that their keys are utilities, that they are likely to strike because that hurts the most people. Improving elements, which is again, that middle software, which is where we'll hold all the data on what's happened to both our customers and our assets, making sure that that's user-friendly and has everything that we need to do with that. And then monitoring elements with all that work order information, we can pull reports out of that, make sure that we closing things timely, is something that should have taken a half an hour, taken longer. That can tell us, do we need training and so forth. So there's a lot that system can tell us, not only about our assets, but what we all need is for the company. So it is a lot.
It is a lot. I thought the same thing when that 2 pages.
So that was,
There's a
as I
lot
said,
in
a
there.
combination of the three of us with an outlook from literally 3 different ways within this company that we deal with this company. So this is kind of a first read, if you will.
Mhm.
Nothing to approve today. Please give me suggestions, read through it. This is part, as I said, of the grant to basically, they're giving you money to get all your assets in order. They want to make sure that you're gonna maintain what you're giving all this money for.
It's a shame not to.
So this is kind of our proof we just gotta do it.
Right, right.
So this is what we've been working on since days left.
How much work do you think that's going to take beyond the grant?
I think with the grant coming up with the steps and then a plan, like, let's come up with, here's all our data. Let's get it in the system. Let's see what the reports tell us right now. We print out the report for our 5-year, 10-year, 20-year. What's it telling us right now? And then kind of come up with a preventative maintenance. Well, in 2028, it's saying that, half our mains are gonna fail. Crap, we gotta
Right,
make a plan. So I think once everything's in place, it's more of an analysis to then take the next step. With the grant, it's just a matter of proving that you've come up with the plan. It doesn't actually have to be in place per se.
So we do, like I was saying earlier, we do have a lot of this information already. It's just it's in different places.
Correct.
We have an asset management plan, we have a master plan, we have O&M manuals and all of our equipment. So it's just bringing it into one area.
so you'll be able to take all those digital files and access them through,
You can run
These
reports
three-
within elements, depending, it will show you what work's been done on a particular asset. And then within GIS, it will give you this CIP and preventative maintenance plan
right,
reports.
right. But I think that's great. I mean, I look back at the simple things in well 2, we thought was clogging, the screen was clogging, and the well capacity was dropping off, and then we pulled the pump and learned that it was like 17 years old and the impellers were paper thin. And put a new pump in and, the flow was right back to where it should be. And having that at our fingertips, you probably had to look through files, paper to figure out when that thing was last replaced, So that's going to make your time involvement less searching for paper files. And so on that, I'm not sure if I don't know if you're planning on like scanning a lot of the old paper files and putting them into.
I know that the printer that's out there, it's mostly was trying to scan our maps and start digitizing those. But if there's other things that are, larger scales,
Right.
we do have the printer that's right out Ron's office, scans and prints and does everything. So
And the other thing I would say is, I mean, we've been using Underwood and Emery and Garrett for decades, at least, right? 1 decade or so. Emery and Garrett probably longer than Underwood.
Yes, that is, yes. Yes, probably been, I think it's well over 20 years we've been using Emery and Garrett.
So I don't know what their storage policies are, but a lot of this paper we have, certainly a lot of it came from digital format from someone who gave it to us. They printed it and gave us the paper. Well, they have the digital. So instead of scanning everything we have, maybe find out if we can get some of
A lot
those
of
digital.
digital have digital. I know we can go to Emery and Garrett when we're looking for a report or something. They have it still on file, and it's usually electronic file, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Underwood, we have the portal.
The portal, yeah, that's right.
But I mean,
Everything, and I think I went through that a while ago, pulled everything off.
I think the last thing I was thinking of from Emery, EDGI was the well 6, 4 and 5 report. I think, did they send that over to us electronically?
Yeah, I'm just saying, if the first step definitely would be to go and see if we can get it from the original supplier
source.
in digital format. Saving us all the effort of scanning paper in, you know?
Yeah.
But I think this is a great idea.
I think it saves the data storage too. I think a sourced electronic file is much smaller than a scanned file.
Oh, yeah, that's probably right, yeah. And it would free up a lot of looking at the room in the back there with piles of paper. You know, you could have a little more room to breathe in that room. No, I'm all for it. I think this is great. That's a tall order, you know,
It is a tall order.
but it's like, you know, the holy grail of, you know, Ron's been here 20, how many years? And,
24
you know, there's a wealth of information in that brain. And when that retires someday, we need to have something else besides that, because, you know, and I think that's going to be important to get all of this information somewhere where everyone else that needs it can find it, you know, so that's great.
We did, so when we've done our GIS, taking the points of the curb locations and the valve locations. I even think the hydrant cards, that was all paper records before, and it was at the beginning, you're not gonna need it, you can just get rid of them. We never threw them out. We have scanned them all.
Huh.
Wait, this was a while back, and it's actually, you can bring it up, and you bring up a point, you can actually bring up a card if you need to like
Oh, wow.
verify something
Yeah.
as well. So we kept all our data, paper data, and we have been incorporating it when we can, and
That sounds great. I mean, I'm on, I get Civil Engineering Magazine and I see like ads for stuff that does that, you know? And I always thought like, boy, wouldn't that be nice? It's kind of great to hear that this is kind of what we're going for, so,
That's the plan.
yeah.
And as I said, with this grant, they just want to make sure you grab that plan and hopefully implement it so that,
Right,
you know, the grant money is worthwhile, that they've given us, that we do, and it is a lot of information, and our assets are valuable, you know, both financially and for our customers. If something fails,
yeah, we
Yeah.
can find where things are and whatnot, and,
knowing where they are, how old it was and why,
right,
instead of, no, it broke.
right.
So it's being able to have answers at our fingertips.
What was the grant amount,
Nice.
do you recall?
I'm trying to think on the top of my head.
Did we have to match some of that too, probably?
Was it-
Equal
was it
match or?
20? I might think it's 45.
It was 40-20, I believe it was
Oh,
2020.
Okay, yeah.
Thank you.
Well, that should go a ways.
Yes,
And then procedurally, you know, everyone's gonna have a role in maintaining it and updating it as new assets are put in the ground and, you know,
Correct.
everything else, right?
correct.
This is gonna be a big training program that everybody understands how to,
Correct. So we are waiting to train people, because one, Elements is getting updated, so we don't want to train people until basically
Sure.
some of our new employees, until that's updated. We're also, after that's done, upgrading GIS. And the people who kind of knew GIS don't want to get back into it if it's going to change on them again. So we're kind of waiting on that. So hopefully within the next 2-3 weeks, that will start changing. And
oh,
they
it's
can
that
start
recent, okay. That current,
getting their
yeah.
hands on back into keeping the data fresh.
Good. I think we'd look forward to, you know, update on this every so often to see how everything's going.
We should actually put that as an agenda item on the superintendent's report, maybe.
Yeah,
Worst case, there's nothing to report, right? But just
Yep.
to get into like a habit of reporting on that kind of stuff, breaking that superintendent's report down into like a list of bullet points would be helpful, maybe. I really got a commend you on your presentation. Your presentation was awesome because I had no clue this is coming. You picked us up from a position of knowing nothing about it and gave us context. I think you did an awesome job. It was very accessible information, so really, really nicely done. Appreciate
Thank you.
that. I do have two questions. For
Okay.
costing, right, of this whole thing. So we have a grant and obviously we pay the bills, right, for Underwood with those, right? But we have labor and expenses and stuff that comes up as well that goes into that. Do we have the ability to track like projects, jobs or something like that? And have we set up a job for this, like a cost object or something like that, or?
At this point, we hadn't, but we definitely can.
We can, particularly with our
Especially
new
for-
payroll system, we can set up jobs within things.
Might be worth thinking about because this can turn into a pretty big effort, right? And
Mhm.
Underwood can only do so much. At one point, you guys have to go through your filing cabinets and everything and think about policies and everything and discuss them, right? And it might be a good idea just to track that and see how much are we really putting into that. Not that I'm opposed to putting any money into that because I think this is absolute key, right? So just a suggestion maybe.
Yeah.
Okay.
The other thing is, if you want to scroll up, please, there was something that caught my eye.
Down below or?
A little bit further. A little bit further, stop, right there. And you probably see that coming. Work with employees on job performance goals and training, and happy employees equals happy customers. We need to think about what that means for us, right? Does that mean we need to, and we obviously have the reviews, we have, we have hopefully some kind of feedback round, like a 360 kind of thing, right? Where we maybe sit down with our staff and the staff supervisors sit down with the staff and ask for feedback, right? And this is where we talk about management, training and so on. And I know a small organization like this that hasn't really been exposed to that, maybe a little bit for, I've worked in a lot of small entities like that, and I've learned a thing or two about how these organically growing teams behave, right? With when responsibilities increase and old habits remain, right? They don't maybe fit the new responsibilities anymore, and just perceptions about how people are interacting with each other. So one of the things that I would see there 100% is something like employee service, like getting feedback from employees. What are you thinking about us? What are you thinking about us as employers, right? As an employer, what are you thinking about us as a supervisor, right? Do our processes make sense? Are we supporting you properly as an employee, right? Are you empowered to do your job, or are you lacking authority to do your job, or do you feel uninformed? Are we constantly yanking your chain because we change the schedule all the time, right? And sometimes we have to, right? Because we're in a reactive business to a certain extent, right? If water main breaks, we have to respond, right? But when I see this here, happy employees, happy customers equals happy customers. Just as MVD has gone through this transition the last couple of years where nobody was paying any attention to us at all, right? We were doing our thing. As long as the water came when we opened the tap, everybody was happy. And the water bill was under control, everybody was happy. Now we have press, we have politicians, we have activists, right? We have associations, we have so much stuff going on. And it's undeniable that we are at the forefront. English fail. Okay, we're at the forefront of this, right? I mean, people are looking at us big time, and I think you had shared before that we had actually conference calls with other districts that are asking us, how are you guys doing this, right? What are you guys doing about this, and how are you approaching this, and sharing some of our experiences. So that reach to the outside that we now have, I think, also has ramifications for what happens inside of us, right? If we have individuals that are just not willing to support that, right? How we are presenting ourselves to the outside, we already have a field of tension right there, right? Then we need to maybe address that, or maybe gain, create understanding in individuals in the organization to say, we're not doing this because we want to be bragging about what we're doing. We're doing this because people are watching us, right? And it's no new fact, no new information that I'm out there almost on a daily basis on those Facebook forums and holding the mob at bay, pardon ratepayer and voters, but there's a lot of frustration out there about MVD still. There's also a lot of very, very supportive and positive feedback. In fact, I would claim it's more. There's more people are positive about what this organization and this board is doing. Absolutely, but there's still some that are uninformed and we just have to open up. We can't reject those people. We have to open up to them and we have to pick them up and
Our
make
own
them
marketing
understand.
team,
why
when no one else seems to have their own marketing team, we need
Right.
them here.
Exactly, right. And maybe that doesn't even mean that we need to have like a PR person eventually that does what I do for free as a paid job, right? But, and others too. I know other people do the same thing, but it's not to be underestimated, right? And if we're not clean on the inside, we're not gonna be clean on the outside and vice versa, right? All of that comes and ties together. So I would like to see more discussions on that and what the plan is going forward with that.
Okay,
Okay.
any other questions?
No, so I think what he said about it, I think employees are happier when they're asked of their opinions on things too.
Mhm.
So, I know you mentioned part of that, happy employee. I think that's important. And if that is something that can be worked into the process as well, I think that's going to go a long way. Because a lot of people are reluctant maybe to offer something. I don't know. But
I know that with just past experiences, that this is in the beginning stages. We are planning a new kind of platform.
Mm.
I think the ability to perhaps empower our current employees to be a part of it makes it their own. That, well, I helped build this, then
Right.
I'm more apt to
Mhm.
maintain it.
Mhm. Yeah,
So-
that's a good point, yeah.
yeah, it is a good point. I would love someday when this all gets further along to do sort of on-screen dashboard presentation of, this is an example of something, how the system can find, you have a question about an asset, where is it, what's its age, to kind of actually just go through an example.
Yep.
So, because, these are being recorded, assuming some people somewhere do watch these meetings, that would be something where somebody would certainly be interested. And, like Wolf and I or anybody else that's on the Facebook pages can put the YouTube link on there and say, hey, take a look at what we're doing. This is really cool. You want to, forward to this part of the video and look at what's going on. And I think that'll be, and that feedback on the employees, everyone's just going to feel like they're part of something and making things better here. So I think
That's
this is a
why
great
I've-
idea.
I have kind of opened the range and again, I started from kind of not knowing anything. So grabbing different people from different areas of the company going, okay, I know you know this stuff, I know you know this stuff.
Good for you.
And
Yeah.
kind of starting with okay, this is our hope. And again, trying to make it their own, like Julie, who has been with us not even a year, if you guys approve our new mission statement or whatever, hey, you help write that. Like,
Right.
That's great, yeah.
Hey, you don't happen to know, is Underwood doing this? What's their experience with these things? Are they doing them for other?
they are, that market,
Water
actually, this
companies,
is
yeah.
what she kind of does as part of
All right, good.
Underwood, is this encompassing of all assets, organizing it, and then putting it back into GIS.
So they got some history and experience in this. This is not their first rodeo and
Correct.
all that type of thing. Yeah,
Correct.
all right, good. Which is good to know,
And they worked with us on our original asset management plan.
Good. All right, good. Any other questions or comments from anyone?
I would probably just take a look at some mission statements and vision statements from other water companies. I think you could expand upon this. Like the mission statement, I've got quality, quantity, cost conscious, and meets or exceeds standards. I would look at those as 4 different things in 4 different sentences. And expand upon what you have there.
Well, the mission statement and agreed, mission statement is trying to be kind of in one sentence, along with your vision of, you can be a lot lengthier with your vision and how you're gonna maintain that mission statement along with the future processes.
Yep.
So we came up with some really short ones, but I can't say them. So it's a matter of, trying to fit a lot of information in one sentence that is powerful, along with being informative. So I totally understand where you're going, that yes, it could be considered, 4 different sentences. But it's a matter of, the right words to convey the right message in one bam sentence.
I have to look back, but the current mission statement was shortened. I think it was 2018. But the original one was almost, I want to say it was like a half a page.
I have a laminated copy of it. I think it's even pushing more than that.
Wow. It was long. So I think that was the drive. That's probably why it got so short, and we want to kind of
Meet in the middle.
add a little bit to it.
Yeah. Well, it kind of incorporates the challenges that we're facing too, with the quality and quantity, and, we deal with both, so it's got to kind of all tie together. So, yeah, I agree. All right, great. Any other questions? All right. Looks like Pete just came on from Underwood.
Hello.
Thanks, Kristen.
Thank you.
That was great.
Yeah, I heard your question, Dawn, about, number of asset management plans we have done. And I believe we are well over like 30 of them.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah. And we do them for water, wastewater and stormwater. So we, so yeah, we're definitely, we're probably even over 50, I bet. It just, she just, is really doing a lot of them, and she has a little group there that works on that stuff. So
Yeah, it's always good to know you're dealing with someone who's experienced and, knowledgeable and on the forefront. Absolutely.
Yeah. And she's really good with the GIS portion of it. And then we just recently hired a specialist that works in GIS. So he's going to be helping her on that. So we have, 2 really good people that have a lot of GIS experience.
Great.
Yeah.
All right, so
And
Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, then one last thing on that is, any of the record drawings that we have, for the projects that we do, we can provide those to you in PDF copies, so you do not have to scan them. So
Right.
we typically take the CAD file and then print right the PDF. So that way, the PDF, there's no scaling issues and stuff like that. So if you are using like a Bluebeam software, you can actually scale off of those drawings in there. That will be very accurate. So,
Right.
so we can provide that on any of the projects that we have. So.
That's good. Do you guys store your files? Do you purge your files after so many years, or do you store?
No, we keep
stored?
saving them and saving them. We keep upgrading our servers and all
Yeah,
that kind of
good.
stuff. So,
You never know when you got to pull something out from 20 years ago. And
exactly. Yeah. The one thing we do need to like purge are like, we just like pictures, so we have like a ton of like pre-construction pictures and stuff like that we take digitally. And, after the job's done, and, you might want to keep it for a few years, but you kind of, I think those are some of the things we need to go back and purge those, because,
they take a lot of storage.
Oh yeah, man, you could, on like a infrastructure project where you're walking down the street, you just take a ton of, pre-construction pictures, because you never know when a resident's going to complain about, my house looked like this before, and all that kind of stuff. And you need to pull that drawing out or that picture out, so you can say, no, it looked like this before, because we have the picture type of thing. And then we can either dispute or agree with the property owner, and if the contractor needs to do something, then we can. So we always have those, and I think those just, man, it adds up with the size of the digital pictures that you take now.
Great, awesome.
So, yeah.
All right, well, welcome, Pete. It looks like you're probably going to talk to us about well 7 and 8, and then 2 and 9.
Yeah. Yeah, so not a huge, updates on those. I know last time we met, we were talking about 7 and 8 and the iron levels on that. Those have been steadily going down. Vessel 1 is putting out, we're not really seeing any more increase in vessel 1. than we're seeing coming out of the green sand filters. But vessel 2 still has some elevated numbers, but those are coming down. So that is a positive sign, in the sense that, I'm hoping, like 3 weeks or so, we should be able to be pumping into the system, maybe even less than that. It's hard to tell as, how fast that iron level is going down, but it is going down steadily on that. So that's a good sign.
You have a rough range of number where we're at on that vessel 2? With the
Yeah,
iron?
vessel 2 is somewhere around 1. Is that correct, Ron?
I believe, yeah, I did not get a chance to check with Brian today what it was at, but
Yeah, but I think that's what they were saying at the end of last week. It was 1.
yes.
And then coming out of, that was out of vessel 2, and that was above 3. So the instruments at this at the facility can measure up to 3, and we were getting readings of 3. So that it's higher than
Higher
that.
than that, yeah.
Right. So it's coming down to 1. Coming out of the green sand, you're somewhere around a 0.15 or something like that. And that's somewhere what we're getting coming out of, vessel 1. So that seems like it's pretty good. And now we just gotta get vessel 2 cleaned up. So
are you flushing both vessels to waste separately, or are you running vessel 1 through vessel 2 in series, or how's that going?
Yes.
Yeah.
We're
In
running through
series?
vessel 1. Yeah. We're probably gonna change up the procedure for wells 2 and 9. I think.
Do them separately, you mean?
I think so, yeah.
Yeah,
It makes more sense to, I think,
Yeah,
to do it that way.
probably just move a lot of the iron from vessel 1 into vessel 2 and have to go through vessel 2, and that's taking longer. Is the valving arranged where you can put one vessel in service and flush the other one, or how does that?
Yep. Yeah, the valve rack has that capability
That's at well 7 and 8 you're talking about right now?
at all of them.
Oh, you do, huh?
Should we do
Yeah.
that?
Not to run into the system.
No,
No, you need
flush.
just to flush one and not the other one. Is that what you were asking?
I was wondering if we can run vessel 1 into the system and
Oh,
still
no.
flush vessel 2 into the bleach pit. No,
No, because right now, the reason why we can't really do that is we don't know how much, we can't control the flow going through vessel 2 and going out the waste. So we don't know if we're gonna like drain the vessel or that type of thing. So it's
oh yeah,
so that's where we're going into the clear well and then actually pumping out of the clear well to waste, or
Would
letting
that-
the clear well overflow to waste.
Would it also be, to do that, we'd have to backwash, it would be more of a backwash than a flow through, correct, on vessel 2?
Yeah,
And
oh
that's
yeah,
not recommended for the cleaning. For soaking, for the pre-soak, yes, but
right. Yeah, once you forward flow, you don't want to backwash that because that could scramble the media for the PFAS treatment. too,
yeah.
right?
So that would do that, but at this point where the PFAS, the media really doesn't have much PFAS on it,
Right.
that doesn't make sense. But as we were going through some of this stuff, we did speak to Evoqua on that, and they did not recommend that we backwash that, because that was one of the things that we were thinking. Do we want to backwash that second one just to see if we can, if there is any iron that's sitting in the bottom or something that we can push, but they recommend that we not do that. So
Okay.
we're continuing to go forward flow on that.
Yeah, I was just trying to see if we can turn down the Penachuk connection a little bit, because the numbers are starting to add up even at the low rate, but
Yeah.
that's another matter we might want to talk to Evoqua
and we
about.
still.
Yeah, so
We will run them, so we forward flow for a while, once we watch our tanks and our tank levels, once they start getting higher, we will shut the interconnect off. Let them drain down a little bit, so we can get that, the mix of the tanks.
Yeah, yeah.
Turnovers. So that might be down a day, on a day. So we are kind of.
All right, so we're not using 100 million gallons a day continuously every day then.
And once the demand picks up, we probably will, but
Right,
all through the winter, we've been kind of, like I said, on a day, maybe, off for 2 days, back on it, a day and kind of like,
yeah, we're
working that.
probably gonna see some demand start picking up pretty soon in May and all that. And it obviously depends on how much precipitation we get and all that, so.
Yep.
All right, well, I guess that's good news. Hopefully it keeps, so it is slowly continuing to decrease to that iron residual coming out of vessel 2.
Yeah.
It's not just holding steady at that 1 or whatever.
No,
Yeah.
yeah, it's been going down. And, so, Evoqua is not really sure why this is happening, So we have also set up some pilot columns there, and they had some media that was taken, from the shipment that was given to us. So we're trying to simulate, the high iron coming out of that. We're, just checking the pH. We're kind of doing a little bit of a pilot test on that. We're also, doing some testing on the media. We're trying to get a better feel for it. So when we go to start up, the well 2-9, we have a little more information in our back pocket of what we're doing, I'm still not 100% convinced that, I think it has something to do with that batch of media that we got, because we did not have that problem with well 4 and 5, and now we're having it with 7 and 8. So, so that's why we're trying to test some of the media and just get some idea of what's happening. We're trying to get a better feel, because one, we need to know this when we start up 2-9, but we also want to have as much information as we can to give to the district as they're doing any change out of medias and stuff like that, that we, they have it, so the operators know what they're doing, so.
I mean, we're gonna be changing media for hundreds of years ahead of us with generations beyond us, and
Yeah.
the way things have shaken out legally, it's our responsibility till the end of the world at this point. So unfortunately, this is pains that we are experiencing at someone else's pleasure. And we gotta know what we're gonna face, because who knows if we're gonna get another batch of, iron laden carbon on the change out at well 4 next time we change that out, we
Yeah.
don't- this
Good thing is, the good thing is, because you're regenerating your carbon, so, as you are not, that regeneration process will not add any more iron to it. So the thing that you might get is, so every time you do your regen, you're going to lose a little bit of your carbon. So you can need to make up carbon. And they were mentioning something in the 10 to 15% range every time you do a regen.
Right.
So there will be that little bit that needs to, that if it might have something in it, but once you have your carbon, that's somewhat of your carbon. So you're not going to have that every change out, I guess.
Yeah, that's a good point. I wasn't thinking of that. You're right. So maybe we'll only have a 10 or 15% problem next time instead of. Right.
Yeah, it's baffling us, it doesn't seem right, but we're trying to get as much data as we can and get an understanding of it.
So other than that, at well 7 and 8 treatment plant, is there anything else, that's on the critical path that needs to be buttoned up before we can put water in the system, or are we good to go?
Nope.
as soon as this iron
Once
clears?
this is clean, the state has given us the okay to, the PFAS results came back good. So the state says, once you clear up the iron, then you can go out to the system. So
Right.
they still have some site work stuff to do, but that's not affecting the operation of the facility. So once we get this iron done, then we can go to the system.
I think Brian, didn't he mention something about one of the basins being eroded a little bit when he was?
No, that was the bank. They were blowing out of a hydrant and that was going off.
Oh.
Yeah, and that has been addressed.
Okay,
So,
all right. That's good.
yeah.
All right, well, that's good to hear. At least that's going in a positive direction.
Yep.
Anything else on 7 and 8, or you want to jump over to wells 2 and 9?
I don't have any. Ron, did you have anything else on 7, 8?
Nope.
Anybody else have any questions for Pete on 7 and 8? All right.
I have one question. Is there a time frame when we might be 100% up and running?
I'm hoping, I'm hoping 3 weeks, but that's just somewhat of a guess on how, what we're looking at for iron levels as they're decreasing. For some reason, when we were doing vessel 1, it was decreasing, and then all of a sudden it kind of dropped off fairly quickly. And I'm hoping that we're going to hit something like that too, but it's kind of anybody's guess. And I'm just kind of throwing out like a 3-week period or so. I'm hoping that it's going to come out then. So, if it is that, you're going to be coming out early to, mid-May. So hopefully it's like right before your higher use period starts. So.
Yeah, exactly. And that might determine when we need to just bite the bullet and put the wells back in service, I know 1 part per million is pretty high. People might see that, that's gonna stain toilets and things, but 0.3 is where you don't see, that's the secondary standard, and that's set that way for aesthetics. So you don't see orange water and your, sinks turning orange and stuff like that. So I'm hoping once we can get down to that level and stay steady at that level, and we can start putting it into the system,
Correct.
All right, good.
Okay. And then on well 2.9, I guess we'll call it. That's moving along. Contractors, progressing. There's still, some of those supply chain issues that he's been running into. We did, have some news that some windows were supposed to be delivered in May. Then they thought it was going to be possibly pushed to June, and now we're hearing that they might be coming in now. So he's not getting I guess good information from the suppliers, and sometimes materials just show up when it's sort of not expected. But if they're coming earlier, that's great.
Yeah, don't refuse them.
Right, exactly.
Store them somewhere or whatever if we have to.
Yeah. But the big thing is, was the gate valves, the butterfly valves. We talked to you about that at the last meeting, those are scheduled to be delivered in the September timeframe. But again, he's, a couple have trickled in, and all of a sudden, he had, all of a sudden 2 6-inch and a 10-inch got delivered, a couple weeks ago. So all of a sudden they popping into the site. So we asked him to, get a better, I was trying to get some information for you for tonight. On Friday when we had our project meeting, I asked him for an update on that just so I could provide it to you, but he didn't get back to me on that. So hopefully they're going to be coming in earlier than that. So with that, September delivery on that, the substantial completion date has slid a month, and so instead of being mid-September now, it's mid-October. So, and then if the valves come in earlier, then that can slide back again, but he was, because he didn't have any more information, he provided, he put in his schedule the September delivery for those valves. So
There's no alternate parts that could be sourced? Other manufacturers?
no, we tried looking at that when the issue came up, and there's some other ones that do not meet the AIS requirement, which is American Iron and Steel requirement. And then we, approach a DES, who got EPA involved with it. And then as we're talking to them, trying to see if we can get a waiver for that, it took us a couple weeks of going back and forth with emails. They're asking for information. Then they finally at the end said, well, you can submit a waiver on that, and we can let the process takes about 7 weeks to go through. So like going, okay, so do we wait 7 weeks to get an answer of no, or do we just proceed with the, the ones that we have, and the contractor actually just said, the hell with that, I'm ordering the valves, and he ordered them. So,
It's not something where could we, I don't know, could we install a different valve temporarily and then remove that doesn't comply with AIS and then remove
Yeah,
it, replace
you
it with?
yeah,
I mean,
you
I know
can
there's
do
a
that.
cost
Then,
to
then,
that.
then you have all these extra valves, so the valves, their cost of the valves were somewhere in the low 30,000, say like $33,000 for the valves. So then if you had to get new ones and, and take out the old ones, you would have to have the labor to, put those in, and you would be paying, and you would have $33,000 worth of valves sitting on your floor that you don't,
Yeah, I thought this was more of like a $5,000 item or
yeah.
something.
And if it was one thing, if it was like gate valves that you use in your distribution system, that you can go out and use them again, but they're processed butterfly valves, and you really, unless you're building another pump station or treatment plant, you really can't do anything with them.
Right.
What about, is there a spare parts package for any of the existing plants that may have those same valves?
No, we don't have any, because typically you don't, that's not a part that really fails on you.
Okay.
So, yeah. So that, that's, yeah, it's some of the stuff that, we have to go through now. EPA with the, the new funding that's coming out, they have even stricter requirements than the AIS. They got the Buy American, Build American, they're calling it BABA. And it's, that's supposed to be even worse, because that's getting into not only iron and steel material, it's getting into all the kinds of plywood, gypboard, everything, so that's going to be a whole new requirement that that everybody's going to have to work through all their growing pains on that. So that's going to cause some supply chain issues right there too.
All right. Any other concerns out there?
Yeah, so one other thing that we were talking about, I just want to get we talked about it at the meeting, and just wanted to get your concurrence on this, is the work at the old well 2 building, where we have to go in there, we got to replace a pump, because it needs to be a higher head pump to pump through the treatment facility. We have to replace some of the process piping in there. We really, we were supposed to be doing that work, in the, April to May timeframe. The only problem with that is if you went to do that now, because you have a higher head pump, you need the larger VFD to drive that. So the new VFD is supposed to be put into the, the new treatment plant. So that's not ready, the VFD's one's not there. We don't have all that components. So what we were looking at doing was like going, okay, if that can't be installed now, we want to have the, the well 2 facility available to the district if they need to pump that into the system. So what we were thinking about doing, and we told the contractor, this is our plan, but we wanted to, get your approval on it first, was to, delay doing that work at the well 2 building until such time that we had well 9 operational and the treatment plant operational. So once well 9 and the treatment plant were operational, now you can pump well 9 through the plant, which is going to equal the capacity of well 2. So then you could take well 2 offline and start doing that work. You cannot pump well 2 straight into the system because it needs to go through the, there's no place to put disinfection, and there's no place for pH adjustment on well 9 unless it runs through the plant. So the plant really has to be operational for that. But once those 2 are operational, then we wanted to run that through the plant, and then at that time we could take down well 2. So you would have, that source available to you throughout the summer.
Which I think we're absolutely gonna need.
Yeah, I think you would really be rolling the dice, I think, if you tried to not, it's hard to predict. You can say, oh, what's it going to be next week? But once you take that facility down, it's down. So All of a sudden, it looks like it's gonna be a nice summer, and all of a sudden, 2 weeks later, all of a sudden, it turns into a scorcher. And people are using water, and you don't have that facility again, yeah.
Yeah, I don't think we really have a choice. Glad that you thought that through and.
Yeah, I don't think we do
Realize that.
either, but I just wanted just to get your, you know, your concurrence on that, you know, and we can tell the contractor.
I mean, I'm thinking well 2 is probably gonna be one of the first ones we bring back as soon as 7 and 8 are on, 4 and 5 are on. We got the Pennachuck connection, but if we still need more than that, I think well 2 is the one. Probably just water quality wise, because it's better than well 3.
The
Typically,
sequence, yeah, that's what we would. bring
yeah,
up well 2 in. If we ultimately, we need well 3, then we can bring well 3 on as
Yeah.
well. But
yeah, I think that makes sense. Hopefully that work by pushing it off till the end. I'm sure it's gonna add a little more time, but.
Yep.
I don't think we have another choice because I wouldn't want a well 2 to be down for the summer. We'd be in a real world of trouble. If we get into some kind of drought or situation, we're gonna be hurting if that happens.
I agree,
All
yeah.
right, yeah, does everybody else agree with that? Or keeping
I'm
well
not,
2, I don't see.
I'm a little lost, but I think I get it. Like, well, 2, you would put into the system without having the carbon treatment?
If we need more
and
water.
we need the water, yeah.
And chlorination. There would be no chlorination either, so we can't do that.
Oh, no, no.
Well, it would
No,
be
it
if we
would.
leave it the way it is.
Right, if we leave it the way it is,
Yeah.
right.
So we basically at the last meeting,
So we might just delay the project a little bit, but have the extra capacity if we need it.
right,
That's all I need to know.
right. Because I was gonna say at the last meeting, we basically decided that we weren't gonna pursue this temporary pump station on DW Highway
Yeah.
to get additional water from Pennachuck for 3 months.
Right.
You know,
At the cost of probably $200,000 plus the water.
yeah, it was a very high cost on that, so if we gotta bring back well 2 over the.
Yeah, I mean, it's a substantial completion date. It's October. The horses left the barn. You've already gone through the summer anyway, so who cares when it gets done?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, all right, so you got your answer on that, Pete, I think.
Okay,
Any other good news on,
well, things are moving along. Actually, if you go out there right now, they have the, the roof on, it's, has ice and water shield on there now. The shingles are coming soon. The siding has the plywood and insulation and Z-gird all on it. And if those windows do come in, soon, then once the windows come in, they can put the siding right on there, so that the building might start looking like its final, exterior product pretty quickly. So.
Where is this place? I thought it was up Greenspoint there.
That's on,
Berry Lane, right up. it's
Berry?
Amherst Road, Berry Lane.
right at the end of Berry Lane.
Berry Lane off
Right at that
Amherst.
end.
Thank you.
Yeah, I gotta get out there and look at
Right
that.
on Amherst Road.
Haven't been out there since
Okay.
it started, I don't think.
Yeah, the site looks a little rough still there, still hauling off, some of the stumps and that type of thing. And, they have, that they're supposed to be doing some more of that work within the next month. So within the next month, the site should start shaping up into looking, cleaner, and then the building will look, a lot like it's gonna be for a final product, at least on the exterior. Interior is obviously gonna need a lot of work and stuff, but
Yeah.
they're moving ahead, so.
How's the leach pit get excavated?
A septic
Recharge
tank, you
basin?
mean?
No, for the recharge basin?
Oh, the
Is that all
infiltration basin?
excavated? Yeah,
Yeah, they have not started that yet. So they have gone out there, they cleared the trees off of that and they stripped the loam off of it. They have not started excavating that because they wanna, the people were working around the building with the siding, with the insulation and the plywood. So once they're out of the way, then they
Okay.
can go in there and excavate down to subgrade, and if they need to fill in, they can fill in some of that and then bring in the gravels afterwards. So they're
Alright.
kind of waiting for that stage, but they mentioned at the at Friday's meeting that they would be starting that this month.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
All right. Everything else seemed to be proceeding on schedule as far as, you know?
It's everything is, the delivery stuff is, you get different stories all the time. It's like this
Right.
item, gets delayed or that one does, but so
Right.
far, it seems like it's moving along and they're, trying to order things as quick as they can to get them on site.
Yeah.
So,
So I know we haven't seen Jamie for a while now. I'm assuming that the well 9 report is probably still not submitted.
It is.
It's in the superintendent.
It was, you always do this to me, then I don't have anything at the end.
Oh, all right. Just- So you're giving it a look over? Is that what's going on or?
It's already been submitted.
Oh, it is, okay.
Submitted, April 8th.
Good.
Almost gonna jump ahead a month.
they're taking the thunder away from your superintendent report, Ron?
Happens all the time that it becomes superintendent, I'm like, I got nothing.
That's good.
All right, that's good to hear. Hopefully, DES won't have too many questions and concerns with it.
It did go in for 1,000 gallons a minute as well, so.
Good. All right. Anybody else have any questions for Pete? You got anything else, Pete, to,
I do
Tell
not have
them about-
anything else, no.
okay? I see no one asking questions for Pete, so I guess we could probably move on if you're good with that. Appreciate that.
All right, thanks. Bye, guys.
All right.
Hey, Pete.
Thank you. All right, so next on the agenda is, are we going ahead with this climate change vulnerability assessment, or do you have anything to present, or is that,
That's what we're talking about.
okay? That's next is the climate change vulnerability assessment as proposed by DES.
So, last Friday, Luis Adorno from DES called and said that they were coming up with this climate change vulnerability assessment, and there was 9 communities chosen. What this consists of is 4 meetings. There'd be a kickoff meeting with the 9 communities, an individual community meeting, a halfway point meeting, and a closeout meeting. There's no paperwork to do. The Merrimack wastewater is also participating, so it's a community, they're doing water and wastewater, we just happen to be separate. It's about, this assessment would normally cost $100,000 to $150,000 to do. And Weston and Sampson have been awarded the contract based on the RFP that was put in your board packet. That just gives you an idea of what they're gonna be looking at.
Okay.
So we'll provide some documentation, we'll provide a tour because they'll want to visit each one of our assets up there and, take a look at those vulnerabilities, things like, is it in a floodplain zone? What's the likelihood of, if there was an ice storm, if this were to happen, that would happen. So they do all those evaluations. And we were actually chosen because of we have our current asset management program, which is going to be, obviously, as you saw, wildly better. But we were chosen as a community because we already have our asset management program in place. We have the emergency plan. We have all those things lined up for them to pull information from. The work is to begin in mid-June of this year. And then Weston and Sampson will have 2 years to complete the entire project with the 9 communities. He was trying to get me a letter. It's a letter to the community saying, this is what we'd like to do. This is what we need from you in order to do this vulnerability assessment. So it's mostly just providing documentation, and a lot of it DES already has. So they'll get it first from DES and then they'll come to us and ask for additional. And if you just go along with it, it's just a second time today.
Did that once before, remember?
Yeah.
I did twice today.
Well, you turned it off.
Did I?
Yeah.
So this is in the beginning stages. So once we get the letter out, it's going to talk more about the specifics. And basically, the only cost to us is some man hours. But this goes into a deep depth of vulnerability that we probably wouldn't have gotten on our own.
Wow. Well, be interesting to see what that finds. That's good. I mean, that's $150,000 value.
Yeah, no risk.
That's definitely awesome to accept that.
So it's
All
just-
right.
That's that project.
Is there any risk that they make recommendations that we don't agree with, but then have to pay for?
Yeah.
No, it's just a vulnerable, the assessment is by Weston Sampson. It's not anything. Maybe it's something that's blatant. I'm sure DES could say, you know, you've got a large hole in your pipe and there's access or something like that, but it's basically, it's all about climate change. So it's more about natural disasters, that type of thing, and what our vulnerability to those are.
So this is not necessarily like vandalism or terrorism or anything like that.
It's
Does it
supposed to be
include
focused on climate change.
climate change, right?
Well, this year, current and projected freshwater flooding, coastal flooding, sea level rise, storm surge, and groundwater rise. Extended periods of extreme heat, which is probably more something up our alley, right?
Mm.
And then future drought, also more up our alley. So I mean, this could be very interesting for us to learn something about.
Right. I wonder how deep they're gonna go into that as far as like evaluating our source capacity and all that and seeing if we're susceptible to problems from extended drought and whatnot.
That Weston and Sampson, they are not here to solicit business. They will not be soliciting our business. They're strictly here for the project, and we will put them in touch with everyone. They will talk, but there's not going to be any
Yeah.
push to get our business or anything. It's in the requirements of us.
Do they have an office in Manchester? Do you know Weston and Sampson? I know I deal with them in Massachusetts, but I don't know if they have something local. I thought they did.
I don't know why I want to say Boston and Concord, but
Oh, yeah?
I'm not sure.
I've been to something, but I don't know if it was them or not.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Okay. All right. So if we can move on, anybody else questions or anything more on that? If not, we can move on. So number, what are we at, number 4? So I think Wolf had a request on this one to discuss scheduling meetings outside of school vacations, which I think is a good idea. It affects, you know.
Yeah, I'm not sure which, was it the last break, the third break? I think I missed.
No, you know what it is? I think we have on April 26th, we have a work session.
Oh, that's right. That's what it is. That's right.
Yeah.
So in general, I would just like to request that we try to avoid scheduling meetings on coastal, Merrimack School District days and weeks, right?
Yeah, it didn't even
wasn't
occur to us.
I was thinking it was for the public hearing.
Yeah, you would have.
I think it's both.
Oh, maybe that
I
was,
think it's both. The public hearing was the one. When was the public hearing?
that was
We're
in
on vacation.
February, last week of February,
That's not the one where I had to go on business short notice.
I think it was.
Oh, that was the annual meeting.
That was the annual meeting. That's right. That's right. So I missed 3 meetings here lately. Shameful on me. But in general, I mean, scheduling a meeting during the Merrimack school break is kind of, most commissioners and employees maybe, and even people in town that may attend the meeting in masses here, they might not be able to because they might be out of town, right? So in general, I think it's a good practice to try and keep the known school weeks, school breaks clear on the MVD schedule, meeting schedule.
As far as the
So we might back
public
and
hearing
pull it up.
goes, and
Yeah, the public hearing always seems to fall on the
it does
same.
fall on
does.
vacation.
It does oftentimes,
Do
right?
you have issues getting that same location
Oh, that's true. when
So,
it's in Session.
Yeah,
Public hearing can be scheduled prior, it can be scheduled the week before. That's why I've printed out the village district things where it says, obviously,
Oh, yeah, the
you just always
requirements.
had it the last Tuesday and Tuesday for consistency and just it worked. But then the public hearing, we did 25 days prior to the annual meeting, but not more than 60. So we can bring that back a week and miss the school vacation week.
and frankly, for me, this is really for future commissioners. My one high schooler is graduating this summer, the other one next year, so.
Won't be a
But the
problem
following year,
after
I may not even be reelected. who
But now
knows, right?
he's gonna have, he's just getting into it over here.
But I just think in general, considering that we want to get community, members engaged in all of this, it would be probably a good idea to try and stay away from this.
I think it was for consistency purposes too,
Yeah.
because it was always the last Tuesday in March was the annual meeting, and then 25 days prior brought us to the board meeting, and then we could wrap the public hearing and the board meeting together. It's just the way it's been. It doesn't have to stay that way.
Yeah, because
Other
usually
options.
the prior week is the week of, what's the holiday, that Monday that we know, we always push,
President's Day.
yeah.
Yep.
So it just would have to be not on a Monday. But that would be that's usually on a Tuesday anyways, right? No, it's
I mean,
usually,
the hearing, no, sorry, to interrupt.
It is on a Monday.
it is on a Monday because we start the meeting here and then we,
But it doesn't have to be.
Yeah.
I mean, the public hearing
Right.
can be its
Any
own
day.
meeting itself
yeah.
on any day.
And I'm not so sure if I'm worried about the hearing as much as I am on the annual meeting, right?
Annual meetings, not during school vacation.
Right.
Yeah,
Right. True.
yeah,
So
but
it may be a non-issue, right? But maybe general consideration.
yeah,
The meeting next week, for example, would have been good. Not
that would have been something we could have rescheduled at another time easily.
Right.
The public hearing. I think there's value in having consistency and, always have the annual meeting on the last Tuesday of March and always have the public hearing on the week after the holiday week, on that Monday. And I know it's been done that way. So consistency wise, the customers know what to expect as well. So if you shift it around, it may cause more confusion for those who are attending the public hearing, but I think it's good to have more commissioners there too.
Oh.
So,
Yeah, I was there just this evening.
Yeah,
to work out.
yeah.
I just realized that we had 2 incidents now where we had meetings during school break. So I figured I'd point it out. It really probably is a non-issue. I have no problem leaving it as it is, but it might be a good idea in general to keep that in mind next time we
I
schedule
would say at least
a meeting.
ask maybe who is gonna, if we're not gonna have full attendance at any meetings during school vacation, then we can work around it and reschedule that, you know what I mean? I think that's probably a good way to do it, but if next year you're not gonna be away, if we have the attendance, then maybe keep it the way it's been for consistency, so maybe just remember to try to get everyone's consensus whether that's gonna be a bad week or not, I think that's a good way
So
to handle that.
you're actually referring to the next 26,
April 26th, we
The
have
work
the
session.
work session.
do we want to try to move that date?
No, I
or-
think because it's a work session, I can dial in, I think. I think
Yeah.
that's what I planned. It's just, looking at drawings and everything is. Yeah, I have planned to call in.
You're gonna be able to do that? I mean,
It's Tuesday, I may not be, but again, that's one guy out of 5, worst case, so. I mean, if we want to reschedule it, I wouldn't mind, but
What are we working on?
it was a couple of things.
Okay. Clears that up. Thank you.
Let's go back to, it was
It's not that
Peter
important.
gave us,
the planning process piece of it.
Oh. That is timely, the water allocation. And that's the timely thing I think we want to hit.
yeah, don't make it depend on me.
Uh,
If I can be available, I'll be available. Tuesday might be, later in the week would be easier.
Yeah, new process water allocation request.
Don, you scared Peter away.
Yes, sir.
He just left. Unless we want to try and push it for the
Water
next week, I don't know.
allocation requests? What is that?
Leave it. Everybody's expecting next week. Don't make a fuss about me.
It's like reviewing the plans for new construction.
How we
Oh.
assign allocation to all the developments coming in.
We're also gonna look at the formula for the SDC charge as well.
System development charge that we charge new construction, right? The whole thing about
Based on peak.
peak
volume.
flow.
Can we just put it flat plus 10% on everything and call it a day?
Yeah. All right, so we'll keep it on, you think?
I would be calling it as well, because that's the end of my
Yeah,
rotation.
we
so.
can all call in, actually. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody has to be.
I
here.
actually
It's not-
don't think I can call, and I think those are 2 days where we have plans. The rest of the week would be easy, and so I would not be available for the meeting, but. Go along.
Well, Work around with it.
To move it,
Yeah,
I mean, if you want to move it to the next week.
that's what I'm
some
wondering,
rotation
because then
switches, I mean,
we'll still have it before. So I'm expecting we're gonna get water allocation requests from a certain project coming into us in May. I'm surprised it's not on the agenda tonight. Thankfully, it's not. So I think we need to button up this whole idea on how we're gonna address it before the May meeting. So we could certainly push it out a week and still, or even 2. But I don't know if Keith, who's gonna be on that? Was it just Keith from Underwood? Besides all of us? Or did he have
I know it's Keith. I don't know if Lynette was gonna be involved in that or not.
the other guy? I know it, I can't think of his name right now. He did the corrosion.
Oh, Tom.
Yeah, Tom
Page.
Page. Yeah,
That's right.
I think it's gonna be, yes, it's Tom Page, Keith and Keith. I can give Keith a call tomorrow, see if he's got some other dates available for next week, and then we can do a doodle.
that's what I'm
Yeah,
thinking.
a doodle would help, because I mean, the next week is fine,
So that's the first week
but
of
if you
May.
just want to
basically.
literally push it a day or 2 to that Wednesday, Thursday. That would be helpful.
That could work, late in the week or the following week.
Right now, I'm free
Pretty sure
later in the
Monday.
week and the following week. So I'm good.
I'm wondering if Keith had something, because I remember we
Yeah,
all
maybe.
pulled up our schedules right at that meeting and we were looking and but we can,
I felt like you guys were looking for the earliest date possible.
and that could have been too.
Yeah, why don't you reach out to him and see if he and his team at Underwood might be available either later in the week or maybe preferably the following week? How's the following week look for you? You're gonna be running off to some other.
I actually will, but it won't be Monday. And
How's the weekend looking?
Sunday night, what are you doing?
some of us need to work for that money.
Tell me about it.
But even that remoting in would be easier than just Monday, Tuesday. We have, we're going
There's
to
something going on, yeah.
all day event.
I think a doodle would help.
So later in the week would be okay?
Later in the week
Best
or
for
the
you
next
guys?
week, either way, yeah.
Later in the day?
Later in the week.
What time? Like, give me an idea. Should I send about for 4, 5, 6 o'clock?
Probably. What time was this scheduled
I think it
for?
was set for 5.
5.
Is that-
Really? Only the work sessions. we do
4:30
with-
is what I have here.
4:30.
It was 4:30.
Would it still be okay for later in the week, probably?
I think so, yeah. Yeah. Got nothing else to do. It's just workload that doesn't end till middle of June right now. Jeez. You all right? Okay. You need the Heimlich maneuver? All right, so we'll try to see if we can redo that.
All right, thank you.
No, that's a good point. Okay, next item is the minutes. So there are 2 sets of minutes. First one is March 21st, 2022, the regular Board of Commissioners meeting. Anybody have any corrections to offer on that? What do they say again? March 21st
First.
meeting?
Motion to approve?
All right, I don't have any comments, so motion by Wolf, second by Paul. Anybody have any corrections or comments to offer? If not, you can entertain a vote. None, all those in favor of approving March 21st regular Board of Commissioners meeting signify by saying aye.
Like,
Aye.
Aye. Ken, do you have
Ken
any?
Ayers says yes.
All right, thanks, Ken.
No problem.
All right, let's move on to the March 29th annual meeting.
Sorry, were there any changes on that one?
No. Sorry for making you talk.
Kidding. See.
Anybody have any corrections or any comments on the March 29th annual meeting minutes? Seeing none, I'll take a motion to approve. As written.
move to approve the annual meeting minutes for March 29th.
All right, motion by John to approve the minutes. Do I hear a second?
Seconded.
Second by Ken. All those in favor of approving the March 29 annual meeting minutes as printed, signify by saying aye.
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 So there's 3 in favor, 2 abstaining.
Correct.
We were not present.
All right, so 302 with Wolf and Ken, I'm sorry, Wolf and Paul abstention. What's that word? Abstentees?
Right?
All right, so now we're on the action items from previous meetings. Be good to take a good review of these. I know we've been sort of kicking some of these down the road a little bit. So, all right, let's just go through them. I think we have the ongoing number 2, Underwood graphs. Let me see, Emery and Garrett Underwood graphs. What are we doing here? Bill 2 amounts, not the graphs, I'm sorry.
That is the,
Yes.
Yeah,
ESRs,
right, and that was in the packet we had.
board packets.
I don't know if anybody had a chance to look at those. I don't know if anybody has any questions, just an ongoing tally of all the various jobs that Underwood and Emery and Garrett are involved with and where they are and how much budget's remaining, that type of thing. I didn't have any questions on it, so nobody else has anything that's in the packet. The next item was number 13, templates for disaster recovery, data retention, security policy. Where are we with that? Didn't we actually address that?
Also too.
I think that was one of the things we checked off because we have our plan.
Also too.
Yeah, we went over that at a meeting or 2 ago, if I'm not mistaken. Did we cover all of these in there?
Yes.
Okay. Is this in a position where we can remove this from the active list here? Or is there more outstanding that we're waiting on?
I thought so. I thought that was complete
Yeah.
Okay,
2 meetings ago.
I'm just wondering, we didn't, maybe because we breezed through these pretty quick on the last meeting or so, we didn't. All right, so if we all in favor of having Amanda take number 13 off the active list here and keep it on the inactive hidden list? All right, sounds good. You got that, Amanda, number 13? All right, great. Next one is number 23. Sharing results of additional PFAS sample points in the distribution system.
It's actually sampled today, so we'll
Oh,
have
okay.
results for our distribution system for
For May, you hope, you think? If we get them within, yeah. All right. That's good. Number 37, where commissioners are think about decision criteria for moving forward alternative water sources. Yeah, I think it's something we want to
I would actually,
move on, right?
well, we could even scratch this because I think this is the goal of the work session. Right?
No, that work session is corrosion control and water allocation. Not necessarily source alternatives, but
But in a nutshell, I mean, we need to have, frankly, I think this is a little bit something that I would expect from Underwood when we go through the final review of the water sources. There should be a decision matrix with decision criteria and appropriate weights for those criteria.
Yeah, that should,
So
along with the Pentra.
well, we didn't have the Pennachuck cost of service study until just the last meeting, right?
Right.
So we didn't really have all the information we needed to make decisions. Now we do.
this was more about what are we basing those decisions on? You know, is it just, you know, is it water quality? What part of the water quality, right? What specifically about water quality? Is it sustainability? Is it how much control we have over that source, right? There's different criteria. And of course, then the cost per gallon, right? Obviously, so there's different criteria we want to base that decision on. And ideally, to make a proper decision, we define those criteria and we assess what each option fulfills as far as criteria and how well it fulfills those. And then if we want to be textbook, we have a decision matrix that tells us this is the high score and this is what we're going with. Instead of,
Do we want to have an agenda on the next meeting or?
Yeah, maybe we should bring that back. Do you think, so you think Underwood needs more preparation to present to us, the decision matrix and all that? I misunderstood this. I thought this was for us to take the report that Underwood did with what were there, about 9 or 10 different options they evaluated? And we were gonna basically pick one of those and say, all right, let's pursue whatever, Mitchell Woods or artificial recharge or a wholesale agreement with Pennachuck or something like that.
right, but what are we basing that decision on? Right now, we're basically solely looking at cost per gallon, right? But there's also other factors that should factor into, or other criteria that should factor into the decision. One of that is, again, how sustainable is that source, right? You know, we might go with,
Yeah,
you know, with a source that is the cheapest per gallon and gives us the biggest bang for the buck, but it's not very sustainable, right? We might see a question mark on the horizon, right? So there should be other criteria that go with it to really have a solid foundation for the decision. And to be honest, I would have a lot of confidence, you know, if Underwood hears the last 5 minutes at 7:05, they're going to get a good understanding of what we're looking for. And I think they have been always smart with those kinds of, you know, requirements and have been actually usually pretty foresighted with that already. So basically, the only request I had when this came up in June 2021, the idea of this was that I would hope that eventually, whether that's coming from Underwood or us, we're not going by some tables and just making a gut decision. We have a substantiated list of criteria that we agree on, that we measure these options by, right? And then we score them, right? And whatever comes up with the best score based on the criteria and the weighting of the different criteria, then we have a solid decision that we can base this on.
all right, so I think we should probably put this on an agenda for next meeting. At least to,
Maybe at least to convey the idea, the expectation for Underwood. Yeah. That we
Alright.
can remove from here.
all right, so let's make, let me see here.
So are you removing that one?
No, I don't,
I would leave it there and just
I
put it
thought
on the
we'll-
agenda.
I know, I thought Wolf just said we were removing it. That's fine.
Once we have it on the agenda and we have like an, you know, a change order
Yeah.
for the source study.
yeah, let's talk about it and ask,
To get involved to the next step or something.
Right.
because the other thing is, I think now that we got better data on some of those alternatives that, and I'm looking at this on dated May of last year. So it's been a whole year that has transpired. So I think one of the things I would want Underwood to do is go back to that alternatives evaluation
Refresh
and
it.
just kind of refresh the cost there, you know? and make sure that we capture things that might be cost quite differently. We certainly have the cost of service study that we can plug numbers into from the Pennachuck cost of service study. So I think obviously that's going to help us make a more informed decision too. All right, that's good. Good discussion on that.
And maybe with that update,
Mhm.
the options are so obvious that we don't have to go any further and say, okay, this doesn't work, that works. This is too expensive.
Right.
So we know what options we're
I
pursuing.
mentioned that at the annual meeting. I think
You did.
Tom Koenig asked me about what we're doing to try to supply water to all of these developments that are coming in. I pointed this out and said we did an alternatives evaluation, and now it's on us to pick what we're gonna move on, you know? So it's definitely timely. All right, yeah, so let's definitely put that on the agenda for the next meeting. Okay, so where are we? We're number 39, I think. Agenda item to discuss noise complaint, Turkey Hill Booster. You don't have any update on that at this time?
I don't, but so one thing we're looking at doing is, we've been wanting to do is insulate the bottom and put some skirting on. At this point, we were looking at a contractor possibly going out there and doing that. So we've hopefully found one. We're gonna meet out there and discuss it.
Okay,
And move on from there. And once we have that, I can do a
Yep.
meeting if we want, or put on the agenda.
yeah, no, I think, we'll just keep this here, keep it on there. You continue to make progress on it. Obviously, I think hopefully if we can get whatever fix in place there. When the summer comes, windows are gonna be opening up. And if
I will-
people are gonna hear
I'll
things.
definitely reach out to them.
Yeah,
And kind of let them know what we're doing.
that'd be good. Let them know this is what we're doing. When it's done, say, hey, we just finished doing this. If they want to kind of pay attention and see if they hear things the same as they did, or if it's gotten any better. I'm not quite frankly sure what more we can and will do,
There's
but
a whole lot more that we can do, and I did express that to them a while back.
at least to take some measures to improve the situation is warranted, and I think that's what we're doing, so.
Have we looked into spray foam installations, spray foam installation or something like that, that could possibly,
That might be a better option.
plus it would be paying us some back, right? Because we're saving some heating costs for the thing. If we're.
What
heating it up.
was the person that,
Better check the ingredients and that's. I don't like the word foam around my water treatment plant.
But I'm thinking it's more so under the where the metal framing is.
Right.
I think that's where it's kind of resonating out, is the noise. I mean, I don't think we can do much with the wall unless we add a wall thickness, but then we our panels and all that's on the inside. So I don't know how.
did you get any specific proposals? You said you were bringing someone in from the
I
outside?
have not yet. So we believe we find a contractor that might be interested in doing it. We'll get a proposal and maybe bounce some ideas.
Yeah, I was gonna say, maybe ask that contractor for a possible, is something like foam or something equivalent to that gonna be helpful in this situation or not? I don't know.
There is two technologies that we can maybe even see what is the resonance, right? Where's the resonance coming from? The one is the good old screwdriver, which most people underestimate how valuable it is. Sticking a screwdriver to your ear and just going around and touching stuff, right, and seeing what vibrates. That is actually a powerful tool. The other one is there's actually technology out there that I just came across the other day where you can hire somebody to come in and it's gonna cost a little bit of money, but they basically take video footage from 3 different angles with high resolution video cameras. And then they have software that basically calculates the vibration, and it's pretty impressive stuff. You can actually see which part of the building vibrates. They basically exaggerate then the motion and visualize it. That could also be something, if it's an issue still, right?
All right, so maybe in your superintendent's report for next month, you can give us an update on that situation, if you can
Yep.
have that moving forward. That sounds good. All right, that was number 39, so that's gonna stay. All right, so next one was number 40, open house at wells 4 and 5. So it was tabled until the spring, which is here. Is this something we're still looking at doing, or? I guess in my opinion, I don't know if, I mean, I'd be good if we just, what were we trying to accomplish with this?
We had said that 1, 7, and 8, and 2, and 9 are up and running, that we should consider doing an open house to show people all the work that has been gone into managing the issues that the district has faced over the last couple of years, not just PFAS, but water supply, iron manganese.
Yeah.
Organization, so people have actually, asked for it because they know that there's a lot of stuff going on, and some people are interested in town to see that, right?
And I was kind of thinking, I know originally we were talking 4 and 5 open house. I was actually thinking if we do one, 7 and 8 might be the place to do it. It does show a little bit more of the treatment that we do, and
Yeah, because we got more than just PFAS there. We got the iron and manganese green sand plant. And, we have had, well, at least one at wells 4 and 5. And I don't think all the public was invited necessarily, if I'm not mistaken, but
no, that was more of a,
no, right,
We had a couple of people, state reps,
right.
and obviously it should be political, whatever open house we do should be simply an MVD open house done deal, so.
Right. This kind of dovetails in the, what was the policy? I thought you had asked Kerry to work on the, what are we calling it? The public
Event policy.
event policy. That's the word I'm looking for.
That was the last we talked about.
That's an ongoing item, right? That's not,
I think it's actually.
I think it's on here, yeah.
so we probably
Number
want
46.
What's that?
It's
46.
number 46.
Yep,
So we probably want to have that policy
first.
in place before we do another open house type of thing, right?
Wouldn't hurt.
So do we want to leave number 40 on? If we're not thinking about doing something until 7 and 8 come online, which is going to be like October.
do we necessarily have, I mean, I thought the public event policy was more for if it was something that we weren't gonna man. So this definitely would be under our control, since it is an open house. I don't know if we necessarily
Oh, yeah.
have the policy, but
It would be nice to have it finished first. So that would be more and more stringent, right? But I would probably remove the wells 4 and 5 and just make it, MVD open house.
Yeah. I think you're right.
Do we have pictures and videos of the construction as it goes on?
we do.
So when I shared the Kids Cove thing, Merrimack TV did a really nice production. When they interviewed me and my co-chair and all the people that were doing work there and before and after, and it was only like a 20-minute thing. But if we put something like that together, for our webpage and your social media and all that stuff, that could be really cool for all 3 plants.
I would like to do it, and I mentioned it to Justin, thank you.
That was more of a question than an answer, but
At the public hearing, that I'd like to do some sort of a video, get it out onto Merrimack TV of just, 4 and 5 and kind of walk through it, and then maybe the treatment plan as well. But I think it'd be nice to have an open house as well, to people to walk through and kind of really get the.
Yeah, I do too. Yep. Okay.
I'm only recommending this because those steak tips were awesome.
steak tips. Wow.
They really
What I
good.
missed?
They were good.
All right, so number 40, I think we're gonna just change that to say MVD open house at treatment plant or something that we're planning on. We'll just leave it generic. So leave 40 on there, just change that. Okay, so 41, review process of water allocation. All right, I think that's scheduled for 4/26, so we can leave that there. Move on. Salt mitigation committee meeting. What did you say you were trying to target one for
thinking
July or something?
May, I was thinking.
Yeah, May.
To kind of go over winter activities, observations, kind of thing, maybe something,
Yeah, like people getting geared up for the winter coming on.
then maybe September or something like that.
Okay,
I know I wrote it, I just don't remember what the sequence was, but I kind of spaced it out and I thought it might be,
you thinking of having something like the prior ones where it's web Zoom based or
yeah, we can do that.
Jamie involved in it as well?
Oh, definitely. I think it should be the committee gets together and
Yeah,
go over, yeah, what we've seen over the past winter. And I know, Mike from, I just lost where he's, what, management company he's with. But he represents,
Martinez.
yeah. He represents Parker Village.
right.
He's, the board voted there for him to be a part of the committee, so I thought that was great.
Yeah, yeah, I saw that email.
So I'm sure they're gonna wanna talk about their situation over there as well, so.
Right. Yeah, then if you want to try to put that together,
Maybe that's
obviously
another doodle poll probably to get,
right,
see what dates are good for everybody.
get Jamie on board and see what his schedule, everybody's availability. It's probably going to be hard to do something in July, August, because a lot of people are away on vacation and everything, so. But May, if you think you can pull it together before.
Yeah.
In May. Then, all right, yeah. See how that goes. Number 44, we talked about Fidelity's involvement with the salt mitigation, encourage others to join. Yeah, I don't know what you're feeling on that.
I would
think-
wait until the May meeting, really, right? And make sure Fidelity attends
Right,
and then see what others do in the community about salt mitigation, and then maybe do a more broader.
right,
Maybe I won't say newsletter, but some sort of a, like an informational mailing. And we can list maybe the people that are involved in the salt mitigation committee.
And I would rather shoot to issue that in fall than now, because right now, nobody is really thinking about salt mitigation in the public.
I think that was where I was kind of going with a September-ish meeting
Yeah.
timeframe. It's hopefully it's before people buy salt.
Yeah.
And that was one of the, when we first went around and did our letters. That was kind of one, it was done later in the year. It was just the way it landed.
Yeah.
That was, I think it was Home Depot or one of those. It was like, oh, geez, we already got all our mix, purchase salt and that kind of stuff. So it's kind of hard to.
so that'll be a good question to ask if you can get this first meeting in May, is to say, when do you guys set your material orders?
Yeah.
De-icing materials, when is that, it might be sooner than we think. It might be something that they're scheduling, setting up in the summer. Maybe September is even too late again, so,
Especially this year with the supply chain issues.
yeah,
It might
everybody's
be
probably
more-
trying to jump the gun and get everything planned out, I mean, I personally think this number 44, I think we should take it off the list because I don't think it's worth singling out. I haven't seen any evidence that this particular company needs to be singled out for any kudos yet. I'm at the point where I think we need to see tangible things before we consider giving anybody public kudos on this. I don't know, I really doesn't matter either way, but we can leave it on there and it'll just stay there for another 8 months before we can see changes.
Well, we could change this over and say, if we are to give kudos to anybody, it should be after an audit, right? Of their practices.
exactly.
Because we're basing this based on a letter that was encouraging.
I think it was a conversation with Jamie and
No, wasn't that an email too or something?
might have been. It was all like, this is what we're thinking and doing. This is what we're going to do, which is good, but it's
I'm
Time to show us
thinking it was
now.
Jamie, and it was more of what
committing to do.
they have done, and it was future goals, committing to, be a certain point at this time, and
I guess what I would say is if we have a tangible example from a reputable company in this town about somebody doing something with some real action items there, that could be a model that we could use to show other landowners in assault in our wellhead protection areas, as an example.
the kudos could be, that mentioning just everybody that's involved, not
Absolutely.
just them, and then, it being a part of the salt mitigation committee and their efforts to help us lower the
Right.
salt levels in our aquifer.
And these are all things we can actually talk about at that meeting, is to say, we want to be advocates for all of you people here representing your properties. That if you tell us tangible things that you want to change, then, we'll be willing to advocate for you on that and put it in the public eye. So kudos to these companies, but realize we're going to be looking for things too, to see tangible results of what you're saying you're going to do, to follow through and audit, like you're saying, make sure they're doing these things. All right. I mean, one of the other things we can talk about at the next meeting is, or maybe we should talk about it now, is inviting other people to come to that meeting. I think we have a list of properties in the wellhead protection areas. I think we've sent notices out to them before. I don't know if there's a way to say, hey, we've got a meeting coming up. Maybe to include them in their availability, ask them what their availability is. We're thinking of doing something in May or whatever the date is that you want to pick.
Yeah.
I don't know how much work that would be to request from these other landowners. I mean, the more people we can get showing up to these meetings, the better it's going to be. Instead of just having 3 or 4 people sitting around talking about their salt uses, where there's, 50 or more large properties that really we need to get to the table here. And, so I don't know, just think about that. If there's a way to reach out again to the people we've reached out to before and ask them to attend these meetings. If you think there's a way we can send out, and I don't know if it needs to be by mailing, or if we have anybody on email list, or.
We generated that original list to actually be, for the first meeting we had. And that was a pretty, that was a pretty good list, and there wasn't any residential customers, but it was, businesses. And
Yeah, I don't think, mom and pop driveway is not gonna be the ones that we need to get. And every little bit helps, but we need people who are salting acres of parking areas that are in our wellhead protection areas to think about doing something different,
So I'm wondering if,
So that means I think the list is shorter when you look at just, all the properties up Continental Boulevard. Because the wellhead protection area goes all the way up to Dobson Way.
Yep.
Um,
and we did include,
the Shaw's Plaza,
we included a lot of them, and it's
right? I mean, there's like godly amounts of salt. They were so bad over there, they had to replace the concrete sidewalk. I mean, that's in our wellhead protection area.
I'm wondering if we take the people that are in it now and ask for assistance in getting additional, so just word of mouth, stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe they can talk to the, Sean O'Keefe can talk to other
Right.
land care, landscapers and say, hey, I'm in this. Is this something you'd like to do, and
Right.
maybe go approach it that way? I'm we certainly send out another request, email request as well for, the next meeting.
Yeah, I think that would be great. All right.
Not to drag this on any further, so just a quick comment. Should we have a discussion with Carrie about this whole grandfathered in aspect of, salt mitigation? Because, I don't want to become political, right? But, we have all kinds of agencies that release new guidelines and new laws that are declaring all of a sudden things illegal and no longer
So
allowed.
that's more, I think the next avenue, if we wanted to change that, we have to be a town ordinance or something. to that effect.
She did do a
She did.
opinion, professional opinion on this. Yeah. Can't remember.
Right now it's on site plans, so that's kind of dictates what they can and can't do.
But she did look into the authority of I think she said the town would have to make a bylaw that I don't think we could.
Which doesn't make
I
sense.
think we asked both, I asked it both ways, if we could enact a bylaw and as being a customer of the MVD, you'd have to adhere to our bylaws. It almost seemed like it was easier to do the ordinance approach going through the town.
Might be good for us to have a conversation about that with her, not just
We can brush that out,
please.
brush it off.
Do we want to bring that back on an agenda item next
Yeah,
month, maybe?
Yeah. I think.
Do you guys have any idea what next month agenda is looking like at this point?
So we'll have those two things on it.
Okay. It's probably gonna be an water allocation request coming.
Well, and with the proper preparation, it doesn't have to be a half-hour discussion, right? So if she presents these are your options, then we know what.
Yeah, just kind of a refresher on
Yeah.
that,
Yeah.
I mean, I think our goal was to try to get this to be more voluntary initially, and if it just doesn't happen voluntarily, then we gotta make it more forceful. Bylaw or something. And also maybe you can roll that into the signage. In your superintendent report too, but the aquifer signage, and then the other thing is the low salt, no salt signage, and
Yeah.
that find you found in that 1984 letter that had all the streets listed in town, that I was told by someone previously that there is no list of streets that they can and can't salt.
No.
There was in 84.
Yeah, there's a list.
There's a list. So, kind of like to see, where that progress is. Maybe,
I will need to follow up with Public Works on that. I don't know where they're
do you
at.
think you would have something to present at the next meeting in May, or maybe that's further away a little bit?
I don't know.
I'll leave it up to you. If you think
I
you
mean-
have something next month to present on that, that would be another good topic to
Yeah,
follow up
At
on.
least, yeah, but.
We got the grant now, we got.
Yeah, we get the grant. That was just gonna be in my superintendent's report.
A million minds think alike. I don't know what to tell you.
So, it was just a social water protection grant was approved by Governor and Council for the 25K for the well protection area signs. And the next step is just getting with Jamie and getting the signs ordered and
Yeah,
town gets in and help work with us so we can get that, we can move on that
okay.
in some way. So that'd be the updates, the progress on, I'm sure there's gonna probably be some crazy lead time on signs, I think. Like everything else is.
Yeah.
So Amanda, that can go under superintendent's report. It'll be in a little while.
All right,
Are we clear on the language in those signs? But there was some just.
We can,
about that.
I'll get that out to you. Or before the next meeting, we can, definitely if we're gonna be ordering signs anytime soon, I'll get some language out. We can just.
I know you had provided some maps too in a previous packet. And
But
you provided some maps of where some of the signs were going to go, I think.
my thought of where to
Right.
place signs, but that.
I'd like to look at that, have the whole board kind of look at that at a meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, and provide some input on that, because I don't think we really even talked about that before. I want to make sure we're all on board with what we expect and
Yeah, we'll we'll obviously need to get a total of signs that we can purchase. And then kind of, we'll count up the signs that we, you know, I want to say it was close to 100 signs in this area alone that I was proposing, but if we're only gonna get 100 signs, we're gonna want to space those out anyway, so obviously we're not gonna.
And again, you're only talking about aquifer protection signs here.
Yes,
There's still another level of this that I know I've been talking about for over a year, which is signing the salt usage.
and that may change with, so the other part of it is we don't know what the new salt, the town salt
The
policy.
town's
is.
putting out a salt policy.
Right,
Right.
so that,
Are they thinking of getting our opinions on any of that, or are they
Supposed
just
to be.
doing this without any of our consideration?
no, they were supposed to, they're gonna create it, and we were supposed to have input on it.
So they're not gonna go publish it and be all done with it before they even show us it, right?
They're not supposed to. I will
Can
follow
you
up.
confirm that with Kyle to make sure, or,
I think we've exceeded our limit on salt discussion for the year.
it's a salting topic. Okay, good. I agree with you. All right, number 45, gain an understanding of threshold, permitted threshold of wells 4 and 5 and seek approval from DES to exceed threshold. Thought Jill had an email on that, if I'm not mistaken. A little while ago. Was it Jill?
You did, with Mike Ungary.
Oh, yeah.
Now that I said that, I can't remember what the resolution of that was.
So the whole turning it on emergency, it wouldn't reenact the, we wouldn't have to do any compliance, not compliance.
Let's look at 45.
Yeah,
Oh,
I'm
I
talking about
apologize.
the-
Yeah, I'm thinking of, well, 3, getting that on, turning that back online for emergency status.
That I did have the email though.
Yes, I actually,
can,
we did email the state came back with what our permanent, we are permanent at 4 and 5 for 700, 874, 875. And that's my, and I don't have it off the top of my head, what's for what, I want to say it was 500 gallons a minute at 5 and 550, and it was two something at 4.
let's put this on the agenda for next month, because then if we can talk about it, everybody will be square what's going on, you'll have the information in front of you. Then we can take it off this list.
Yep, but it is a 870, that's what we are permanent, 874 is what we are permanent for through the state.
It's a combination of the two, right?
The other numbers that come into play, that, you know, the 600 gallons a minute, and that was all in Jamie's report, that's more of a management on our end, how we.
Because this is tying into like one of the alternatives of source development that we want to look at. So I think
Actually,
it's important to.
I think this had a lot to do with our back against the wall here this summer until
Right.
7 and 8 up back online to a 9-hour line. This had to do, if I recall right, that I think Jamie from ETGI came back and said that the pump tests back in the day on 4 and 5 yielded a much higher capacity than they ended up being permitted for. And then the state came back with a significantly lower, but still fairly high permitted pump volume. And that was because of long-term concerns of pumping at higher rates. And I think that we had said, well, could we possibly get a waiver or an extension of that threshold for the year 2022 so we can bridge the gap while the other wells are still.
Yeah, in other words, if wells 4 and 5 can handle the
Help
production,
if they can help, right?
can you give us
Understanding
a,
of permitted production so that you don't drain the aquifer, don't end up pulling sand in.
Right, but
They waiver doesn't sound like it's something that DES would do, but
Well, again, a temporary increase of the threshold, basically, right? Based on the results that we had back in the day when we test pumped those wells. And maybe I remember that wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Jamie had said that those wells were actually very productive at the time. But because of long-term concerns, they were limited to what the permit allows us to do, which makes sense. But
So
we're talking about possibly a month, right, or two, specifically in spring when everybody's firing up their pools and filling up their pools and firing up the sprinkler system. Usually in the later summertime, we're not doing as bad as we are right in the spring when everybody's at once trying to get everything green, right?
Yeah. So if I remember what the sequence of this was, is wells 4 and 5 were pump tested again.
Yeah.
And it was determined that the area of recharge, the wellhead protection area, was smaller than initially thought because it was a limited aquifer.
That is kind of
And
what's,
so I'm not, so if that's the case, then if the aquifer can recharge more, we'll be able to get more water out of it.
what's also a slow, it has a slow recharge. So I don't, that might have been a factor as well. I'm sure it's a factor in why it's the, we get that 600 number for short-term
Right.
use, and then it's,
870 for,
well, the 870 was what initially was a permit, it was permitted for. And that came up from the state, so that they sent the, on what's on record, they said, it's
still 870, right?
Still 870.
Yeah.
And that's what we had. The plant was designed for
Right.
and everything else, so we have the capacity to go to 870 without having to do anything to the plant. On a, so, and that's where artificial recharge is coming into play. If, if we can recharge at aquifer and pump 870 consistently out of it, then we've been kind of, we've added to our
Source, yeah.
source as well.
Can we even exceed that threshold with the, with the vessel? No, it's just the plant. Can the plant even handle that additional volume?
I don't think.
I have to look into that. I know it was designed for 870, but I don't know if that was, so I know like, I have to figure, I have to find out, because I know the 4 trains, like at 2 and 9, was, I think the max was 2,000 gallons a minute. I don't, yes. It was max was 2,000 gallons a minute. And if the one train was 1,500, so to add the 2, I think it brought it up. It doesn't make sense. I have to look into it. There was something with we needed the 4 trains regardless. So to add on with the 1,000 gallons a minute, we needed the 2 trains, I'm sorry, the 4 vessels. So it didn't matter to add that. It was like if we get 1,000, we'll get 1,000 type of a thing. That's what it was. So it's possible. I have to look back.
I mean, this could be as simple as something on the superintendent report next month, right? So.
All right, so I guess we'll leave that on. 46. Is Carrie working on an event policy? Because I don't think she is. I think we asked her to, and she said she would.
I thought we did, yeah. Because it was basically starting out with, because I wrote up that outline that I figured should be covering some of the things. And I think she had said she has something she can milk, right, to other assignments.
Was she looking for us to authorize that, or I can't remember where we left that.
Well, we talked about it in a meeting.
Formalize it.
Yeah, so.
Okay. There was nothing else we were.
And I think, I'm sorry, on that note, I think it would be great if she would break down the 3 scenarios that she had outlined that are legal. Because we need to have clarity from those in the future, because otherwise we're going to have the same discussion over and over again. She had outlined like 3 different scenarios that are legal. They should be part of that policy so we don't have any confusion.
All right, so someone gonna follow up with Carrie about, okay, all right, we're getting there. Number 47, that's the SDC calculation metrics. I think we're gonna roll that into our April 26th or other scheduled date on that one. 48, option to add separate irrigation meters. It's something else we can talk about on April 26th. Not sure how that would work out, but
Then we decided to take that off of there because we got the tiered rates now,
yeah, did we?
which would take care of that anyways.
Most things are two.
Yeah.
There was, it's.
I think this was
blank.
my idea, and I think it was something I came to realize when we talked about the tiered rates, that it's overkill because you're gonna capture those irrigation units with the tiered rates.
Yeah,
So take it off.
I'm for that. People want to agree to remove 48. All right, sounds like 48 is off the list, Amanda. Work session for April 26, number 49, that's in progress, to be scheduled. 50, clarity on PFAS violation running average.
That was the email that was in there.
Mhm.
That one could be taken.
All right, so 50 is, can go. 51 also, it looks like you did follow up on that, saw an email in the packet here, right? So we don't have any, we have PFBA report as well. All right, so number 51 can go. Brandon presenting the sampling results of PFPRA. I don't know if we need that.
They haven't got the EPA results back. That email the Rhoda sent out.
Oh, so they just got, they were doing duplicates, is that why? They sent them to one lab? Is it Eurofins? No.
ORD, EPA, PORD, whatever it is, they took their samples, DES took their samples, and they did theirs at their lab and.
Because we got some reports on one of them, but not the other one.
Yes, it's,
All right, so we'll leave that one in there, 52. 53. Those, yeah, there's a scope of work that Underwood has on that, right? Our SSCT columns at Wells 4 and 5.
So I did follow up with Lynette on that. We just received a draft report. I can get that out to the board. And I gotta look at the ESR, because I don't know if what the next steps of that is at this point, but we did just get it does break it down, shows you, I guess if we wanted to build it, we can look at it, but.
All right, you think you can have that in the next packet, more,
Send it out
a little more information? Yeah.
middle of, tomorrow, or I'll just forward it on to the board. Or I can bring it back either way.
Yeah, well, I kind of like to talk about things because I think when things get sent out to the board and we look at them and then we put them away and nothing ever happens with them, So it should probably be even an agenda item if you have something,
Okay.
you
Okay.
know,
No,
if we
definitely.
have time and we have, I mean, these are not burning issues, but they're just kind of lingering. It'd be good to,
So one of the things that Lynette did ask, I did ask the question as far as the 4 and 5, the artificial recharge, if we could actually model that there as well, and they seem to, kind of spark more questions, just fill it with dirt, and I'm like, oh, why not,
yeah.
So they seem to think that would be fine.
Yep. That's actually, years ago, Peter Garrett of Emery and Garrett did a presentation that I saw, and that's how when they first started doing artificial recharge, and that's what they did, is they packed the sand from the aquifer in the columns and ran water through it and see what they got coming out of it and all that stuff, so. All right,
Can we spike it up with some PFAS, that dirt? Just just to make sure.
Well, it should be dirt from the aquifer.
Right,
I think they retrieve it and put it in the same sequence. that
right,
was-
right.
I don't know, you can never really pack sand into its original state.
Right.
That's the best you can do to try to model it, you know? Yeah, that would be interesting. Okay, 54, follow up with Kerry. What are we doing here regarding the fixed charges for Penachuk previously unmentioned and recovering funds from purchasing water? What was that one about?
So there was meter charges, their standard charges that we
Oh,
were
yeah.
not ever discussed. It was just the water rate charges. So we looked into it and it's their standard charges.
Pay the meter, whether we're using it or not, type of thing.
I was gonna give Larry a call on that as well, and I haven't had a chance yet, but I will give him a call and
All right,
see if he'll.
Is that significant? Is it worth talking about or?
like a few $1,000 a month, right?
Just for the meter.
Yeah.
I thought if we weren't,
There's recoup fees in there and
I
stuff.
thought if we weren't using the water for the particular month, they wouldn't charge us the meter fee, but they are. I guess they are, huh?
So
I could've
yes,
swore I thought Don Ware said something different.
I don't think he even mentioned when we talked about it. You know, when we were trying to figure out how we were gonna pay for all this, there was really no mention of any, there was no meter charges, there was
It's
no,
always the rates.
Yeah,
it was just the rates.
Yeah.
And they had no mention to Carrie about it either, because she was like, I sent her the invoice saying, know anything about these? She's like, I do not.
Well, it could be as simple as an operational mistake, right? They just followed their basic processes and some,
No,
Really?
it's what PUC, what they charge is what they're allowed. What they're allowed to charge is what the PUC says they can charge. So there's no variations or anything. They have to go by whatever charter. Whatever their approval from the PUC is.
so
what I'm saying is if somebody here now set us up as an account, then you know, the billing process
right.
the standard billing process may have just snuck in those regular charges because that's what they charge every other customer.
Let's throw the spaghetti on the wall, see if it sticks.
Yeah, I'm gonna give Larry a call anyways and kind of.
Yeah, all
In
right.
case they see what.
I would also look and see if whatever we submitted to the PUC says anything about meter charges. You know, or if it's just the rate, and nobody really talked about the meter charge.
The only thing they were looking for is the rate adjust, so it probably wouldn't say that anyways, they were just looking for a special rate.
Nowhere in our agreement anywhere it says anything about forgiving the meter charges.
No.
All right, well, let's keep that one on there and see if you still said you're gonna make another call, so see how that shakes out. All right, number 55, review sick pay time, sick pay time off. What that stands for? With Michelle. I don't think we've done anything on that. What do we want to do about that? Do we want to put it on a future agenda? I don't know if we're got too much going on for May, or if we want to add that to May. At least to
I feel like we beat the
discuss.
heck out of this.
What's that?
I feel like we beat the heck out of this in the budget. What more is there to discuss?
Well, nothing changed from what exists, so we didn't really do anything about it. So we might have kicked it around hard, but it's still what it was. And if it's what it was is fine with everyone, then fine, but it's on here for a reason. I thought.
This was actually you, I think, pointing out that the fact that we're paying out PTO is,
I mean, it's against my personal philosophy as a business person. Like, I don't think people should get rewarded,
right,
like sick time is owed to them,
right,
but it's a different culture here. And who am I to say what's right?
right.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I didn't really intend to bring it up as something that we need to change right away, but
Maybe let's keep it simple. Can we find out what the town does? What do other municipalities do? And if it's standard in the industry, I have no problem with it. I just don't want to be standing in front of a ratepayer that says you're giving the farm away, right? So
I know the town does pay out, I just don't know what they're.
Yeah, why don't we just do that? You know, compare ourselves a little bit with others, benchmark. If we're within the norm, I have no problem with it.
I agree.
Where you coming from a business standpoint, it's not really acceptable, but if it's standard in the industry or in, you know, in the public sector,
Refresh my mind what
we're
People get paid out for months worth of sick time that they've accrued over 20 years.
of sick time, not
Yeah.
like earned vacation.
Correct.
No,
Yeah.
we can accrue sick time up to 240 hours.
Yeah.
And after that, whatever is.
I would be. I mean, I get 3 sick days a year. You use them, great. If you don't, well, then they disappear.
Michelle was saying. this
At
is
my
a-
work, I'm sorry, but at my work, you're allowed to queue like over 200 hours of sick time. The idea is, you know, it's there in case you need a surgery or something. So, you know, so it is not uncommon for people to accrue sick time like that.
well, the question is, does it get paid out when you leave the company, right? Or,
Oh, when you leave the company, that's a different question.
right, and I think
Accrual
that's
is fine.
part of the reason what we're talking about too.
Well, anything over, so we accrue up, we're allowed to keep up to 240. Anything over that gets paid out yearly. So when you get to that point that you have 240, anything over that,
And if you leave the company, well, you still have all that bank.
and that's been the
Yeah.
past practice, all
Tens of thousands of dollars. One utility.
I know that most municipalities do that, but that's as far behind what like the actual.
Well,
price.
let's see where we stand with.
If you guys just want to report back and
Yeah.
we
Let's-
can
we-
put this to rest.
Do you want to make this an agenda item for next meeting?
I think that would be a workshop type thing. I hate to bring up another workshop, but I think we'll take.
let's get,
Can you report back at this as part of the superintendent's report or agenda item, and then we take it from
Okay,
there?
all right.
If there's discussion, you know, more need for discussion, schedule a workshop, if we just call it off, and we call it off.
3 more left.
2 of them are already scheduled. You only got 1, kid. You're 10 minutes behind.
Organized work.
Motion to adjourn.
The metrics permitting based on peak consumption. All right. so
We started off 10 minutes ahead. It was like 7:05 when we started this list.
We've been not even looking at this list for the last 5 meetings.
It's worked out really good.
All right. So really, the next one is just the last one then, because the other ones are going to be on 426,
And those are in your packet.
the mineral graphs. Right. Okay. So that's it for the action items.
So can we take that off at 58?
Are we closing out 58?
I think those are recurring, right?
those are recurring, yeah.
We should probably indicate that it's recurring. When do we want to revisit those? Is this, it's quarterly sampling from what it looks like on the graphs? Looks like there's only 4 data points a year
On
on the graphs that are in the package.
Yeah,
So
that's not compliance or anything, that's.
Right.
For our
just for
benefit.
us to know if we're,
we follow
if the sodium and chloride is gonna kill the wells or if it's not gonna kill the wells. That's all we need to know.
one of the same.
I'd like to see those maybe every 6 months. It's only 2 data points to add to the graph. Who actually does those?
Right there.
You want it quarterly, we'll follow the same schedule we do with the other 2 that we do. Yeah,
That would be the most frequent data that we could get. It's quarterly data collection and it's quarterly graphing, so. Yeah, you want to do that? And they have an ongoing contract to do that, right?
Yes.
yeah.
Okay. Yeah, so why don't you make that like a recurring quarterly thing? Amanda, all right? All right. So I think we're good on the action items. Old business. We have. Old business.
Oh,
Just Yeah.
The opening for the operations manager. When I spoke to you about the CDA, the CDL licensing. Just to kind of get that out there on the, for some reason, the operations manager, one of the requirements is to have your CDLA, which is, I don't know if anybody's like a tractor trailer or if you're gonna tow like a front loader, which I thought was a little odd for a management position, but I spoke to him and he said it's purely just,
Just kind of a redundancy if we ever need the help, but
so it's not a hard requirement.
It's not something that we're losing candidates for the position because they don't have that, is it?
not that I'm aware of, but
Yeah, that's why I asked him, because I had somebody approach me and ask.
Put it under
Yeah.
desired, not required.
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. If we make it, it doesn't have to be absolute, you need to CDL or you don't get the job, but
moving
make an
forward.
exception.
Oh, no, actually, I told him to absolutely send him down.
Oh, yeah, I did.
Yeah.
And I spoke to him.
All right, okay. I didn't know all that, so I didn't, okay.
But moving forward, as far, with personnel, field techs. We've kind of loosened it up a little bit and some of them were having a hard time with the test as far as, pre-trip inspections and stuff for the trailer and all that. So we did okay them getting their B, because we obviously need people with licensing, not so much to pull a trailer. I mean, the backhoe gets generally driven over the road. So, we do have other staff that does have an A license if it needed to go to North Track or something like that. It can be loaded in and towed somewhere. So that has.
Yeah, so what are we hauling around mostly? Just that backhoe and we're not like.
Technically,
taking
anytime you
loads
pull
of
the
pipe
trail-
And all that, or,
Anytime you pull that trailer, you're supposed to have an A.
yeah,
And it doesn't go out that often. I mean, it's, but if we move pipe or anything like that, then we would need an A. But even going forward, just the CDL license alone, they're making it a little bit more stringent to get your license. So we would have to have the district or certified instructors. So it's really getting a lot more stringent. And it could be something with the town as well. I'm not, maybe it could be one instructor that we can share type of thing, but they're getting a lot more strict with the CDLs and stuff. So the ones that need to go for their license were grandfathered in a sense because they had their permits before these laws were changing. So they still able to just go down and test and drive and all of that without having the driving. It's almost like a regular driving. You're gonna have you take your kids out driving, you record
log and everything.
yeah, log everything in and
Wow. Right, I guess if the position is not a requirement to have the CDL, then that's probably solves the concern. All right, any other old business, anyone? New business? Superintendent report?
Should be really short.
yeah, I've got like 2 things left. So we reached out to Jason Saunter at CDC and asked him about any guidance on the ATSDR report, and that was in your packets. I don't know if you actually saw him or not, but there isn't anything. They have it for the 10 PFAS components, and then the 2 extra for the ones that are in their samples or something. So it's 12 altogether that they have.
Okay,
We did test where we got an email from Pennachuck Water that their finished water coming out of their treatment plant on 3/15 was 5.3 parts per trillion for PFOA.
That was in your packets too.
Man.
This one, so we applied for a leak detection survey grant back in 2020, and I was notified on Thursday of last week that it was approved and the DES has contracted with American Leak Detection in New England Water Distribution Services to conduct acoustic leak detection surveys at community water systems that applied. A preliminary schedule along with information about when to expect the consultants to reach out to us and who to direct questions will be coming shortly. So we have another grant opportunity that we applied for and received, and I want to say it was 53 miles that we applied for.
Oh, wow.
Of surveys, so.
Good. Gonna kind of prioritize where you think the problem areas are and things.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. Oh, one thing I forgot to mention, maybe you want to talk to Larry about it. Jeff Daly called and said, because he's a resident of Nashua, that there was a hearing at Pennachuck, because Pennachuck is considering, this is all relayed to me from Jeff, that they're considering having to install a carbon treatment on all of their water. And it was like $200 million. And it was supposed to be discussed at the last Pennachuck meeting on the same day. I was at the State House Thursday and I didn't go. So ask Larry if there's any truth to that. All right. That's your superintendent report
That's
complete?
it. Yeah, I had to cross off 4 or 5 things.
We won't make you repeat them. Questions from press or public? Anybody see anybody listed there? All right. Next meeting is May 16th, 2022. We do have the rescheduled potentially work session. So we'll see where that goes. All right.
Motion adjourned.
Seconded.
Second by Ken, motion by John. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye, aye.
Ken,
All right.
Ken's good too. Thanks, everybody. We'll see you next month. Thanks, Merrimack TV.